This is Trial Transcripts Exposed by Crime in Court with Heather. Raw courtroom reads with my commentary. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crime in Court with Heather. This is Trial Transcripts Exposed, and we are reading through the Menendez brothers' trial, their retrial, I should say, of their parents, Kitty and Jose. And we're on the defense's case, part 57. Erik is still on cross. He's going to be on cross for several more days. And he is going to be grilled about events of the evening of the homicides and talking about the shotguns and things of that nature. So that's what we're going to continue on with today in our testimony. But before I do, I have kind of an exciting announcement to make. So, and this, I'm going to be doing this little spiel in all of my videos at the beginning for a little while, just to give you guys kind of a, so this might be repetitive, but this may or may not be the first time you're hearing it. Anyways, so I have painstakingly took many hours this past weekend, and I revised our membership perks, and I think that these are really something that you guys might be more excited about than things that I may have offered in the past. I think this is going to be a good fresh start. Everything on the list is some way or another for you to be able to engage or connect with me or somehow, become more involved in the channel, get more information, things of that nature. So that's where I'm going with our membership perks. They just switched over. We have brand new perks as of, I want to say, yesterday. And so this is where we're going from now on. And I'm planning on keeping this structure for quite some time because I think this is going to be really beneficial to you guys and to the channel, just all in all. So let me give you a little overview. So here are Crime in Court membership perks revised or updated May 2026. So I've had two membership tiers in the past. The prices are the same, but your perks are completely different because I think these are better. So insider case files, I'm going to go over this. I'm going to try to go over this very quickly. We also have, I'm going to do a video where I go into all of these more in depth and I can show you examples and really kind of walk you through what all of these perks are specifically. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of run through it. So I have a private Google Drive that is for Core and Justice Insiders. So that's the 99-cent tier and above. All of you get the file, the case file. So that includes things like the transcript from today, where I highlight and I have a book, I go through all the transcripts and I bookmark where, sections end and where people testify and things like that. So you'll have all of that. So plus any court documents that I read through on the channel, those will be in the Google Drive as well, and any presentations that I present. Next, you'll get a weekly Ask Me Anything. You're going to get these on Wednesdays, and it's going to be a conversation start, or not a conversation starter, sorry. This is, you can ask me anything. I'll put out, a prompt or something about a case maybe, or just something in general, and you guys can ask me questions, whatever you want about, that particular topic in my question, or, anything really. You can ask me whatever you want. Keep it classy. Featured member comments. So that is anyone who is a member 99-cent and above. I will periodically highlight a member comment on the channel in one of my future videos. Also, I have a wall of fame that I've created for all members. This is a permanent thing. So at any point in time, if you become a member on the channel, even if it's just 1 month and you decide not to renew, you still get to be memorialized as a member on the Wall of Fame. And I'll show you an example of that in a little bit. Weekly insider tip. That is the conversation starter. So I'm going to put out, anything about some of the cases that we talk about, maybe some of the forensics, the bad junk science that we talk about on Debunked and Dissected, or maybe it's just something about corruption, something about misconduct, whatever it might be. I'm going to put out a tip, a fact, something about a case that we followed, and then leave it to you guys to maybe talk about it, discuss. So that's a weekly insider tip. And kind of a thought provoking, comment every week. And then you guys can help build on that conversation. Then, of course, you get all of the badges and emojis. I've created multiple badges and emojis for the channel. Those are on there when you become a member. And then Justice Insiders. So this is my $2.99 tier. This is, I'm talking with the dog bone in my hand. I'm a fidgeter. I have to fidget. In case you saw, I said nylabone that's been chewed off. So the Justice Insiders is for $2.99 and above. You get all of those things that I just mentioned: the case files, the Ask Me Anything forum, featured member comments, Wall of Fame, weekly insider tip, badges, and emojis. You get all of that plus this. You get member shout outs in every video, which I'm going to be doing today. And you're founding members. So this is a limited time offer for right now until June 30th. If you join between now and June 30th, you will become a founding Justice Insider. This is going to be commemorated in badges. You get to hold that official designation. You will also see your name on the Wall of Fame under Founding Justice Insider. So that's prime real estate right there. Priority case suggestions and episode dedication. So I have a form that if you are a Justice Insider, you have access to fill out and give me any suggestions, topics, whatever you might want me to cover in the future. And if I choose to do that topic, that case, you will get that whole episode dedicated to you. I will have a slide on the screen with your handle showing. So that's that. And then you can connect with me on socials. So really, X is the only place where I post for the channel. And you can also gain my phone number for texting. You can text, say some quick hi, hello, or text me a case suggestion, whatever you might want to do if you feel like contacting me. That's part of your Justice Insider packet. And then you will get a monthly thank you video from me, and that will be the last Friday of every month. So those are the perks. And I think that these are so much better than some of the other things. Not that anything that I've done has been bad. It's just that I think these are going to help you guys become more engaged in the channel. So I think that these are some good perks going forward. And let me know if you are interested. You can go to my page and join and start enjoying those perks today. All right, so let us get started here with our testimony. We left off still Erik on the stand. He's been on the stand for ages, it feels like. We're going to pick it up with part 57. And that took a while, that intro, but sorry about that. I needed to get through that announcement. Oh, totally forgot. Hold on. I did not show you the membership Wall of Fame. So this is the member Wall of Fame. So we already have some founding members, and starting now, people will be on this. So anyone from now on will either be a Justice Insider or a Core Insider or a founding member if you sign up before June. So that's how that's going to work. So let us I have a video for you or a little, little graphic for you guys while I go through our founding members, just our founding Justice Insider members. So we have Toyota Girl 67, SLB 29488. May the force be with you 4313. That's a great name. Jessica Wynand 6079. Mrs. Apples with a Z 2007. Butler 89833. Brooke JF. Jen P 773. My favorite, Boom Chicka Wow Wow 1, great handle. And finally, Kendall B 5757. You guys are awesome. You guys are the first founding Justice Insider. So thank you for your support. Please feel free to engage in the things that I have talked about today, the perks and all of the things, so that you can start utilizing that and don't let it go to waste. Oh, hold on. I am really crooked here. Let me fix my camera. Okay. That was just because I switched screens here. So let me switch back to this screen. Now I gotta switch my camera back. Okay. I was not lined up on the other screen there. Sorry about that. All right. So that is all of my membership announcements. Sorry, I almost forgot there. Okay, so we're gonna continue, like I said, where we left off with Erik Menendez on the stand. All right, so the court says, let's get the jury out, please. Oh, I forgot to mention this is Thursday, the beginning of Thursday. Nope, the afternoon of Thursday, December 21st, the second half of the day. They come back from lunch and the court says, let's get the jury out, please. The jury enters the courtroom and the following was held. So the court says, all right, everybody is present and the bailiff says, we are missing one. The court says, yes, he is here now. We will now resume the cross-examination. Erik Menendez on the stand, cross by Mr. Khan for the state. Now, Mr. Menendez, Sunday morning, you came out of your room and went to the guest house to see your brother Lyle Menendez. Is that correct? Yes. Now, Saturday night, your father had been banging on your door violently. Is that correct? He was. And you were fearful of him at the time? Yes. Did you believe that perhaps he was going to enter your room and kill you? Yes. So when you left your room Sunday morning, did you leave armed with your shotgun? No. Were you concerned that your father might still be waiting for you to come out of your room? Well, he told me that I would have to come out of the room the next day, but I didn't think he was outside my door. Well, when he told you that you were going to have to come out of your room sometime tomorrow, did you regard that as an ominous threat? Yes. And did you realize that perhaps when you woke up in the morning, Sunday morning, your father is going to be down the hall waiting for you to come out? Basically. Okay, so in order for you to get to the guest house, directing your attention to Exhibit 6, you have to come out the door here, walk down the hallway there, make a right, and then go down the stairs. Is that correct? Yes. And in order to see if your father is standing over here by the linen closet, outside the linen closet, how far down the hallway do you have to get? It's not a hallway, it's a balcony. Okay, and how far down that balcony do you have to get in order to see if your father is standing right over here behind the linen closet? If the measurements are correct, then it looks as though then you would have to get pretty far down. And so before you opened your door, did you listen for noises? I listened, and then I tried to look under the door. I thought about it. I really had no choice but to leave the room. I wasn't going to make a phone call at that point. So you looked under the door and you listened for noises because there was a suspicion in your mind that your father might be lurking somewhere outside waiting for you. Is that right? I didn't believe it was a strong possibility. It was early the next morning and I just thought that he was probably in his bedroom. Well, it was a strong enough possibility for you to actually listen for noises and look under the door. Is that correct? I was pretty paranoid at this point. It didn't need to be a strong possibility. It was just something I was going to do and something I did. What do you mean, paranoid? Really? Like, you don't know? Do you mean you were fearful at that point? I hadn't been out of my room since my father had been banging on the door. Of course, I was fearful. I am asking you about the use of the word paranoid. Are you saying that you were fearful at that point? Is that what you mean by the use of that term? Yes. And you were fearful enough to look under the door and listen for noises. Is that correct? Right. Because there was a possibility that your father was waiting for you outside the room. Is that correct? Yes. In light of that possibility, Mr. Menendez, did you leave your room with your loaded gun just in case your father was lurking behind the linen closet? I did not. Why not? I had to leave the room. I couldn't stay in the room all day and I needed to get over to my brother. And it's not like carrying a shotgun is easy or easily done in disguise. Oh, are you suggesting leave the room and have the guns just in case he's hiding behind the linen closet? That's the suggestion. Oh, that's what Eric asked. Are you suggesting leave the room and have the gun just in case he's hiding behind the linen closet? Prosecutor says that's the suggestion. He said, the witness says, that's not something that I would have been able to do. And why is that something that you would not have been able to do? I would not have been able to fire at him as he was coming at me the next morning. I just would not have done that. Well, you had it in your mind the previous night that if he was going to come in through your door, you were going to fire at him. Is that correct? I was going to try my best to fire. And why are you saying that the previous night you could have fired at him if it was necessary, and now Sunday morning you could not have fired at him if it was necessary? My father would have confronted me in the hallway. I don't believe I would have been able to shoot him. It's just not something, it's not the way I reacted when I was confronted by him. He probably shrinked up inside of himself because you try to your mind, it's not even you. Your mind tries to take you out of that moment that's really crappy. And you kind of just shut down. You shut off. At least that was my response when I would always be getting yelled at by my ex, who was quite abusive verbally and psychologically. He says, my father would have confronted me in the hallway. I don't believe I would have been able to shoot him. It's just not something he could have done. So you were able to shoot him Thursday that night, Sunday night, weren't you? I did. But you're saying Sunday morning you lacked the ability to do that. Is that what you're saying? I believe I lacked the ability. I'm not sure where all the questions, what exactly you're asking. Are you asking, Mr. Levin says objection, it's vague, ask it to be restated? Court says re-ask the question. Mr. Khan says yes. Can you tell us, Mr. Menendez, why you felt Sunday morning you could not be able to shoot your father? Truly, I didn't think about it. You didn't think about what? I didn't think about all this. This is something that I know and that I knew then and know now. Like I said, you're what's the Monday morning quarterbacking everything that they did when they were all in a panic mode at the time. So we can look back and pinpoint all the little things and be like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? But when you're in a situation where you're fighting for your life and you're not thinking clearly because you're in fight or flight more times than not throughout your day, your adrenaline is low, your body's tired, like it affects you physically, mentally, you're drained. And on top of that, there's this whole fear looming over them that they're going to be killed by their parents. So even just someone that's your abuser who you don't actually think is going to kill you in the moment can give you serious psychological and physical ailments, uh, if you want to call mental health ailments. I don't know what I couldn't think of the word, but you know what I mean. So it can affect you obviously psychologically, but it can also cause a lot of physical harm. You can manifest your symptoms into physical, autoimmune diseases, which is probably one of the reasons why I have mine, on top of, going into a really high stress job after a divorce from an ex, and then my health just spiraled out of there. But all of that, I tell you just to say that, it can really affect your whole life being in an abusive situation. I was in an abusive situation for 5 years with this guy, about roughly, and I'm not the same person. Never will be again. I am jaded. I'm I don't find the world as funny and joyous anymore. I'm just not my normal self after being with him. He broke me in so many ways. Being abused constantly 24/7 for years at a time, it breaks you. So when you're already broken because you've gone through 18 years of abuse or so. And now you're like, okay, well, my parents are mad at me. They're not talking at me. They're not talking to me or my brother. They, n- I've done the one thing that my dad told me never to do. I did it. And now he's going to kill me and Lyle. All of these things that now, if you put all of that into perspective, their actions that night make sense to them. Might not make logical sense, but in the situation they were in, it made sense. Things made sense because they were in fight or flight for years on end. And it had escalated to the point where it was all or nothing to save themselves, pretty much. All right. So, can you tell us, Mr. Menendez, why you felt Sunday morning that you would be able to shoot your father? Or would not be able to, sorry. Truly, I didn't think about it. You didn't think about what? I didn't think about all this. This is something that I know and that I knew then and I know now. But at the time when I left the room, I did not think about bringing the gun out. Did you think about it because your father was not a threat to you? Is that correct? Objection. It's argumentative. Overruled, says the court. Erik says he was certainly a threat. Well, then why did you not think about bringing the gun out, Mr. Menendez? Excuse me, because I didn't believe he was outside waiting behind the linen closet. I just did not believe that. Why did you dismiss that possibility? Mr. Levin says objection, asking him to speculate. Overruled. The witness says, I don't know. You can't give this jury a reason? Objection. It assumes that he had this belief. Rephrase the question, says the court. Mr. Khan says, you can't give any reason why you dismiss the possibility of your father being behind the linen closet. Objection assumes facts, not an evidence, that he ever had anything to dismiss. Why don't you rephrase the question, says the court. He's struggling here. Can you tell us, Mr. Menendez, why you did not believe that your father was behind the linen closet waiting for you to come out? No. All right. Okay. So you came out unarmed, correct? Yes. And then you go down to the guest house to see your brother Lyle. Is that correct? Right. And approximately what time of day was this? I remember it was fairly early because I remember I didn't get much sleep. 7:30, 8 o'clock, something along those lines. Now, when you got to the guest house, how was the outside door to the guest house locked or unlocked? The outside door on the first floor was unlocked. It had a lock, didn't it? It had never, I had never known it to be locked. Did it have a lock? I don't know. But it was not locked. Is that correct? Yes. And when you went in through the outside door and you went upstairs to the second floor and then you knocked on the door to get in to speak to Lyle, is that correct? Right. Did you tell him at the time what had happened to you the previous night when your father was banging on the door? Yes. And did you tell him how fearful you were of your father the previous night? Yes. And did either you or your brother say at that time, maybe we should get that buckshot out of the car and load our guns? No. Why not? Objection, it's asking him to speculate. Overruled. The witness says, I don't know why not. I can give different reasons why I think it may have been at the time I just didn't. You do not recall as you sit here today why you did not have that conversation with your brother? I know that I did not have that conversation with my brother. I told Lyle that I was leaving the house at that time. He wanted to come with me. We talked about other things. Why I didn't say that, I can only speculate and think about it now, but at the time I simply didn't do it. Why are you fearful of your father that morning? Were you fearful? Sorry. Were you fearful of your father that morning? Yes. And you were aware that morning that your gun still had ammunition in it that was essentially useless? I don't know if it was. I didn't think about it. I mean, I obviously was aware. It wasn't present in the front of my mind at that time. If they had handguns, it might have been. But to try to lug shotguns around everywhere with you because you're afraid of your parents in your own home, like that's kind of hard to hide. Would you say because it simply wasn't very important to you? Objection, argumentative. Overruled, says the court. The witness says, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if emotionally I wanted to do that, if I wanted to load the gun. I don't know why I didn't do it. I didn't. When I was faced with immediate danger, I thought about it. At that time, the next morning, when I was at Lyle's guest house, I didn't do it. So after you left the guest house of Lyle, did you go to the car and take out the buckshot? No. Did you bring any buckshot into your brother's guest house so that at least he could load his gun while you were gone? Objection, argumentative. Rephrase the question. Did you bring any buckshot to your brother before you left? I had no idea whether Lyle had loaded buckshot in his gun or not. You didn't see your brother load buckshot at any time, did you? That's right. Did you have any reason to believe that your brother had loaded buckshot into his gun? I didn't think about it. And then you did not ask your brother if he loaded buckshot into the gun at any time, did you? No, I did not. As far as you knew, the buckshot was still where you had left it after purchasing it in the store, and that is in the Ford Escort unopened. Is that correct? Right. Did you leave your gun in your home as you went out that day? Yes, I did. And did you leave it once again in your closet? Yes. Was it covered up in some way? Yes. Was it inside the tennis bag? I don't remember, probably. Why do you say it was probably in the tennis bag? Well, I had brought it up the night before. It's how I carried it in the tennis bag. I know that I had taken it out of the tennis bag before I put it beside my bed. I am only guessing whether or not I put it back in the tennis bag the next morning. A moment ago, you said probably. I am asking you why you said it was probably in the tennis bag. Because it would have been the logical thing for me to do, but I don't remember doing it, so I am really am guessing. And why did you go out that day? Because Lyle and I had discussed the night before that he would stay in and try to talk to mom and dad or feel out what the situation was. Why didn't you want to be around for that? We just decided I encouraged that. I didn't want to be there. Why didn't you want to be there? I felt that it was best, safest for me not to be there. I didn't see any need for me to be there. Lyle was going to try to talk to dad or mom. I didn't want to be there with dad. And so we just decided that I would not be at the home that day. You felt it was safest when you were apart. Is that correct? Yes. So did you make a resolution at that time from now on until this is resolved, you and your brother were not going to appear together in front of your parents at the same time? No. Why not? I can't tell you why. I didn't think about these things. I just did what I felt was best at the time. I don't know why. That is a good point that I was thinking about and formulating just before he said his answer, which is when you're in that fight or flight, you're only thinking about the moment. You're not thinking about the future. You're not thinking about future impact of what will happen to you necessarily, or um, you're not thinking about how your actions will affect the future. You're only thinking about how do you save yourself in this moment in time. That's the only important thing that's in your mind at the time. Everything else is not important when your body, your survival, your livelihood is being threatened. So everything else is not important. The only thing that's important is to keep him alive, and that's by thinking in the moment. But if you thought that being together would increase the likelihood that your parents would use that opportunity to harm you, did you discuss with your brother whether from now on until this controversy is solved, you would not appear together in front of your parents? I don't believe so. Were you trying to preserve your life and the life of your brother, Mr. Menendez? Objection, argumentative, and vague. All right, rephrase it as far as the time frame you're talking about. Mr. Khan says yes. That Sunday morning, were you interested in preserving your life and the life of your brother, Mr. Menendez? Yes. And were you looking for ways to ensure that your parents would not kill you? I was more looking for ways to find out what was in their minds and what they were thinking. What was the situation, really? Were you interested in taking precautions that would minimize the likelihood that your parents would shoot you? Objection vague. Overruled. How many overruled? I mean, every single one has been overruled so far. The witness says, we are basically taking precautions to minimize the likelihood of the parents shooting them. He says, we are basically. In their minds, that's what's going to help them stay alive. Mr. Khan says, and if you felt that the danger was more likely when the two of you were together, can you tell us why you did not discuss with your brother the possibility of not appearing together before your parents at the same time until asked and answered, says Mr. Levin, until this is resolved? Mr. Khan finishes. The court says overruled. The witness says, we talked about UCLA and being away from each other the entire day. It's what I wanted. It's what we thought was best. It's what we did. I don't specifically remember saying or him saying to me that we will never appear in front of mom and dad together again. I just don't remember that. But I remember thinking that we came to the conclusion that it was best if we just stayed apart. It's what I wanted. Did it occur to you that it would be the wiser thing to do to appear together in front of your parents until this controversy was resolved, to not appear together? Objection, vague as to time, and it's argumentative. The court says, as to the time frame, why don't you clarify that? Mr. Khan says, on Sunday morning, at any time on Sunday morning, did it occur to you that it would be wiser not to appear together in front of your parents until this controversy was resolved? No. Asked and answered, says Mr. Levin. Overruled. Your answer, please. No. How would you say that in light of what happened to you Saturday night with your father banging on your door, that you became even more fearful that your parents were going to kill you? Objection vague as to more than what? Overruled. Everything is overruled. The witness says, I certainly was much more fearful than the situation between my father and myself was coming to a head, that it was coming to a head. Mr. Khan asks, and did you feel that Saturday night was at least up to that point in time, up to that Sunday morning, Saturday night was the most fearful time, had been the most fearful time in your home? Other than maybe Thursday night when my dad was actually in my room and when he threw me on the bed. Maybe even more than that, yes. And so, did you resolve Sunday morning that perhaps it was time to start thinking about moving out of your home and finding someplace where you could be safe? No. Did you discuss at all with your brother Sunday morning the possibility of leaving your home and going somewhere? You mean both of us together permanently? Together or separately? Running away? Together or separately, leaving your home and staying away from your home? No. And you felt that things were coming to a head with your father? Objection, it's vague, it's argumentative. Overruled. The night before seemed a very ominous sign, says the witness. Mr. Khan says, Sunday morning you felt that things were perhaps coming to a head. Objection as to what that means. Overruled. The witness says yes. Mr. Khan says, and what do you mean by things coming to a head? That there was going to be a crisis between my father and I, and it's one of the things I told again to Lyle the next morning. It's one of the reasons he wanted to leave the house the next morning, and I really wanted Lyle to talk to mom and dad so we could get a feeling of what was going on. Why maybe dad had tried to confront me or just what was happening, and I did not want to be around when this happened. What type of crisis did you think was coming? I don't know. You were speaking about some sort of violent attack, aren't you? Yes. And you were willing to keep hanging around your home waiting for that to happen rather than going someplace away from home? Objection. It's argumentative. Rephrase the question. Were you willing, as of Sunday morning, in light of the new developments of Thursday night and Saturday night, still willing to keep coming back to 722 Elm Street, even though you anticipated that there was some type of crisis that was about to occur? I don't think it has anything to do with willing. I didn't want to be here. I did not want to be at home. I wouldn't call it willing. Well, whether you wanted to be there or not, you made a decision that you were going to keep coming back to 722 Elm Street until this was resolved. Is that correct? Objection, argumentative, overruled. Erik says, yes, I just didn't think any other way. He didn't think he had any other place he could go. And his parents controlled all the money. He didn't have any. What was he supposed to do? Just run away, Erik. Just run away with no money and nothing. And a crazy psycho father who will stop at nothing to potentially kill you. Just run away. Not a big deal. Guy's an asshole. And you suspected at that time that perhaps it was going to come to an end with either your father shooting you or you shooting your father. Is that correct? Objection, vague as to time. Overruled. Erik says, I wasn't sure if that was going to happen. No. You weren't sure, but you recognized that as a possibility. Is that correct? And recognizing that as a possibility, you decide that you were going to keep coming back to 722 North Elm until this resolved itself. Is that correct? Objection, argumentative, overruled. I no longer thought about it. Mr. Khan says, you left for a while and you came back at noon. Is that correct? Yes. When you came back at noon, where did you park? In the back alley. Can you tell us why you parked in the back alley? I thought it was just the thing that I thought it to do. I'm sorry? It's just what I thought to do. Where did you normally park? I normally parked in front of the house. Did you park in the back alley because you did not want your parents to see you? I think that was part of it. Why did you not want your parents to see you? Because I wanted to talk to my brother. Normally, I didn't park in the back alley. It was rare that I ever parked in the back alley. Why I made that choice to park in the back versus parking in the front and walking around the house, I don't know. But one of the reasons why you parked in the back alley was because you didn't want your parents to see you. Is that correct? I believe so. And my question to you is, why did you not want your parents to see you the Sunday at about noon when you went to the guest house? I can tell you that I know that I wanted to speak to my brother first, but that's the only way I can answer the question. Why didn't you want to speak to your brother? Or why did you want to speak to your brother first without your parents seeing you? Because I didn't want to be confronted with my mother or my father before I found out from my brother what was the situation. I have in my hand two photographs that have not been previously marked depicting the back alley. May these be marked as the court chimes in and says 377. Mr. Khan says, yes, 377 and 378. 377 is the photograph on the left. 378 is the photograph on the right. Can you tell us what we are looking at in 377 there? 77 is on the left? Yes. A picture of my tennis court with the screen. The screen is on the tennis court, and that is the back of the guest house with the garbage cans in the back. It's the back alley behind my house. Now, in between the guest house here, and the tennis court here, is there a gate right there? Yes. Is that a wooden gate? Yes. And is that wooden gate shown here in 378? Yes. Is that your tennis court which I am pointing to now? Yes. And the guest house is over here. Is that correct? Yes. And where would you normally park your car? Well, I wouldn't normally park it back here. But I believe I parked it right behind the guest house. You normally parked in front. I normally parked in front of the house. Okay. And this day you parked it right next to the guest house. Yes. Like, how many times does he have to tell you? What was your reason for returning at about noon to talk to your brother? I had told Lyle that I would return about noon before I left the house to find out what the situation was if anything had developed. Now, while you were driving around from early that morning until around noon, did it occur to you that your brother may have been left at the home with essentially useless ammunition? I don't know if it occurred to me. Now, when you got home, did you ask your brother you were then going to leave after you stopped at home? Is that correct? Right. And before you left, did you ask your brother if he might want some ammunition that wouldn't be useless? I had no idea whether Lyle had opened it up and taken this buckshot by then or not. It didn't enter my mind. And you had no conversations with him at that time. Is that correct? I talked to him for less than an hour, but I was in there for a while. And during that hour or so that you talked to him, the issue of whether or not the guns had ammunition, proper ammunition in them, never came up. Is that correct? If it did, I don't remember it. And you did not reload your gun at that time. Is that correct? That's right. So you just stayed in the guest house and you didn't go to the main house, correct? Right. Now, as you were driving around on Sunday, were you concerned that in light of the confrontation or in light of the accidents which had occurred the previous night, Saturday night, with your father banging on the door, that perhaps your parents would look in your closet and discover your gun? Yes. Did it occur to you? Yes. Were you concerned about that? I knew if they did, I was in extreme trouble. Okay. So what did you do? What do you mean? Well, if you were concerned that your parents might find your gun in your closet, did you take any action to avoid that from happening? No. Why not? I was out of the house. I thought that if they find the gun that I would be in trouble. I didn't think that they would ransack my closet. I didn't know of a reason why they would, but I wasn't going back into the house. Well, you wanted your brother, Lyle, to go back into the house, didn't you? I did. In fact, you encouraged him to go back into the house, didn't you? I would say more than encouraged. So didn't you feel that you could just go up to your bedroom and come out carrying a tennis bag? I probably could. I didn't want to. I didn't think I had to, and I didn't. Even in light of the possibility that, which you considered, that your parents might find your gun, you decided not to retrieve your gun. Mr. Levin says, objection, it's argumentative. Overruled, says Mr. or Judge Weisberg, Judge Stanley Weisberg, who grates on me sometimes with his ruling decisions. The witness says, when you say considered, it gives me the impression that you mean I thought about it for a long time. I worried about it. It was a big concern of mine, and I was anxious about it. It was something that went in my mind. I thought and it didn't stay in my mind. I didn't believe that that was going to happen. Well, that's what considered means, that you thought about it and decided not to do it. Is that correct? I suppose. Now, you then left again at about 1 o'clock or so, and you stayed out until about 9:30 that evening. Is that correct? Right. Now, when you left at 1 o'clock, did you feel like your parents were going to kill you? Objection assumes facts, not an evidence. Rephrase the question. When you left your home at approximately 1 o'clock, did you feel that your parents were going to kill you? I didn't know. I certainly didn't like what was brewing in the house. I didn't know what was going to happen. It's a fair answer. Well, how did you assess the likelihood, Mr. Menendez, that when you came home that evening, in light of everything that had been going on, how did you assess the likelihood Sunday at about 1 o'clock that your parents were going to kill you Sunday night? It wasn't just what had happened on Sunday. It was the fact that my dad had tried to enter my room on Saturday night and had been furious. It's the fact that there had been an enormous blow up on Thursday and that my mom had known about these things, which I found inconceivable that she could know about. All of these things I was thinking about at that time, and they were all wait, what is going on was big in my mind. Thinking about mom and dad, how she could have been, or how she could have known, and thinking back over my life and signs that she knew. I thought about all that weekend at the same time, and it wasn't just all of these things weighed into it, and I thought that something bad might happen. This is good that he's explaining it that way because that's exactly how the psychologists and whoever are going to explain it that way, that it's everything combined. I was hoping that Lyle could find out what was going on. I was hoping that nothing bad would happen. I didn't know. Let me rephrase the question. How did you assess the likelihood at about 1 o'clock on Sunday that your parents were going to kill you that night? Objection, argumentative that he did, overruled. The witness says, I didn't know my parents were going to kill me that night. How I assessed the likelihood is what I just said. Over the past 3 days, what had been going on and all the events weighed into it. Mr. Khan says, well, would you say that there was a great likelihood you would be killed that night? A small likelihood that you would be killed that night? Or would you say it was pretty much the same danger that you had sensed from Thursday through Sunday morning? The danger didn't stay at a plateau. It spiked up, like on Saturday night. It spiked up on Friday night. It was at one of its highest points on Thursday. Then I relaxed Friday morning. It changed. On Sunday, I thought something bad might happen. I didn't think my parents are definitely going to kill me. In some ways, I didn't want to think about it. In some ways, I didn't want to load my gun. I just didn't want these events to actually be happening, and so it it's so difficult to describe. Mr. Khan says, "Well, Mr. Menendez, what I'm asking you is this. That is so freaking condescending when people do that. What I'm saying is this. You said that it didn't stay at a plateau. It would go up and down. Is that correct?" Yes. And then he didn't even ask the question that he was asking. That's a brand new question. So he says, what I'm asking you is this, being all condescending, and then he doesn't even ask a question, the original question. He asks a new question. You said that it didn't come or didn't stay at a plateau? Yes. And that's what I'm asking you. On Sunday at about 1 o'clock, how did you rate the threat level at that point? High, but with hope. Hope that what? Hope that my fears were not founded. Hope that things would come to light when Lyle talked to mom or dad. Hope that something would happen. Lyle was going to go inside the house and try to mingle, in a sense, or spark up conversations. Then I was going to get a definite sense, and so I was very anxious to arrive back home, and in a way, I didn't want to go back home. Would you say that your sense of danger that Sunday at about 1 o'clock was not as great as it had been either Thursday night or on Saturday night after your father had banged on your door? Why? Why would it be less? They hadn't interacted since, so the tension's just building. Why would it be less? I wasn't panicked, if that's what you mean. Like I was on Sunday night, I mean on Saturday night. I didn't think the danger was immediate. Why did you feel that the danger was not immediate about or at Sunday about 1 o'clock? Because I was away from my brother. It was daytime. It was just, I didn't know what was going to happen. But I didn't think the danger was immediate. What would you make that danger immediate in What would make that danger immediate in your mind? Objection calls for speculation, says Mr. Levin. The court says you're asking his current state of mind or his view at that time. Mr. Khan says at that time, Sunday, at about 1 p.m. The witness says, what would make that danger immediate? Objection, Your Honor. It's argumentative. The witness says, my father telling me he was going to kill me, that would make it immediate. My father banging on my door, that would make it immediate. My father telling me he was there going to have, that there was going to be sex, that would be immediate. Any number of things could have been immediate. At any point in time, the threat, Jose, was always there and could blow up anytime. The court says the objection is overruled. Mr. Khan says, where did you go from about noon to 9:30? Objection, it misstates its testimony. Rephrase the question. I'm sorry, from about 1 o'clock until 9:30. I was I know I drove. I drove around for a long time. I went into the valley. I know that it was Pacific Coast Highway. At one point, I pulled over on Pacific Coast Highway and was sitting on my hood. When did you call your brother throughout the day? No. Did you call him at all? Not once. Did you want an update as to whether or not he was speaking to your parents as you wanted him to do? I was very anxious for an update, but yes and no. Tell me about the no part. I had a very strong feeling of not wanting to go back to the house. I had a very strong feeling that all this was my fault, that I deeply regretted telling my brother and getting him involved in this, and I didn't want to go back to the house and find out what was going to happen. I really did not, a strong part of me did not want to do that. I'm not talking about going back to the house. I'm talking about calling your brother Lyle Menendez during the time period you to ask for an update as to how things are going. No, I did not do that. Why not? I am sure there were reasons at the time. I would only be guessing at this point. So you went back to your home at about 9:30, is that correct? Yes. And at that time, you had no reason to believe that you were in any more danger than you had been at 1 o'clock in earlier that day. Is that correct? I don't know that that's yes or no. I had been thinking about it for 8 hours and worrying about it for 8 hours, meaning it's just building the tension, the pressure, the fear. It's all just building up, not knowing, making it worse. I was in a very jumpy state when I got back to my home, but I didn't know anything different than when I left it at 1. Right. And you said that about 1 o'clock on Sunday, you said there was no immediate danger. Is that correct? Yes. Well, that's only because you didn't run into either of your parents that day. But the immediate danger could be lurking around the corner doing laundry or, I doubt Kitty ever did laundry, but you know what I mean. Like they could be around the corner pouring herself another glass of alcohol to wash down her prescription pills. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, plenty of opportunities. Okay, so you said about 1 o'clock on Sunday, you said there was no immediate danger. Yes. And so when you got home at 9:30 before you spoke to your brother Lyle Menendez, there was still no immediate danger. Is that correct? Well, there was more danger than there was at 1, but there was no immediate danger, no. And then you began speaking to your brother Lyle, is that correct? Yes. What happened at that time? He told me about conversations he had had during the day. I specifically remember a VJ Armitage camp and talking about Perry. Perry and what else? VJ Armitage camp that my dad had wanted him to go to. So your brother Lyle told you that he had a conversation with your father about going to a tennis camp. Is that correct? I don't know if it was a conversation. He asked my dad if he should still apply and if he should still go. And my dad said, "What does it matter anymore?" And he described it as a very eerie, ominous thing. What does it matter anymore? That sounds like somebody who thinks my life is over or my life as I know it is over and it's going to completely change. So, uh, what does it matter anymore? Very strange set of, or a very strange response. What does it matter anymore? Is that correct? Those are the words I remember. Did that sound ominous to you? The way my brother was describing it, yes, that particular comment sounded very ominous to me, and it was. It was everything he said around it. Tell us why that sounded so ominous to you. Because my father had been pushing my brother to go to this camp, and simply dismissing it with, "What does it matter anymore?" was significant to me. You said, "That's it. Lyle Menendez, our father is going to kill us tonight." Is that correct? Objection. Argumentative. Sustained. Did you say at that point to your brother, "Well, there's the proof we've been waiting for. Our father is going to kill us tonight"? No. Why not? Objection calls for speculation. Court says as to whether he said those exact words, sustained. Yes. Why did you not have some conversation with your brother at that point to the effect that you thought your brother or that your father was going to kill you that night? After he told me about the VJ Armitage camp? Yes, because I wasn't absolutely certain my father was going to kill me that night. Because that is a remark that can be interpreted different ways. Is that not right? You mean objection, argumentative, overruled. Erik says it can be interpreted different ways depending on what's going on inside the house that weekend. I interpreted it one way. And how did you interpret it? I interpreted it that dad no longer cared whether Lyle went to this camp, that my dad had been pushing for a very long time, as if what does it matter anymore? What does your life matter anymore? That's how I saw it. I could see it as I could see it as Jose feeling sorry for himself and feeling pity for himself that he's going to get caught. That's how I took it, as what does it matter anymore, where he's just kind of feeling self-pity, thinking, okay, now this is out and my life's over. I don't know. So you interpreted that to mean that your father was going to kill you that night. Is that correct? No. Isn't that what you're telling us by your interpretation of that remark? Interpreted it as a bad sign. I didn't interpret it as the end all of now I know what's happened. It was short, 10-minute, 15-minute conversation. Lyle did not want to be at the house anymore. He was angry that I had not gotten back until 9:30. He was asking me why I had gotten back at 9:30 when he had asked me to get back at objection, non-responsive. Your next question, please, says the court. So, did you feel at that point when your brother Lyle Menendez told you that your father made this remark about a tennis camp that you were closer to the crisis situation? Objection, it's argumentative as phrased. Rephrase the question, says the court. Did you feel that after your brother told you that his father said, "What does it matter anymore?" that you were then closer to this crisis situation in which you might have to shoot your father? I didn't take it to that step. All I know is that Lyle wanted to leave the house. He was frustrated that I had gotten in an hour and a half late and didn't want to be at the house anymore either. He told me about something else and we just decided to get out of there. So you didn't feel you were closer to the crisis situation, is that correct? The answer to that question is yes, I did. And since you were closer to the crisis situation, did you decide at that point it was time to leave the house without talking to your parents to avoid a violent confrontation? The conversation hadn't ended yet. He told me more things and there was more to it. Okay. Before he told you the rest, did you decide at that point it was time to leave the house and avoid a violent confrontation with your parents? No. Why not? Because he hadn't finished talking. Had he finished talking, I would have said yes. Okay, so then he finished talking. Yes. What else did he tell you at that time? He told me that my father had lied to Perry and told Perry that we were out when we weren't out. At least that Lyle wasn't out, and we talked about that. We talked about the general mood of my mother and father. We decided that to leave. So it was your belief that your father had lied to Perry Berman. Is that correct? He had told Perry that we were both out, and that wasn't true. Yes, and you heard the testimony of Perry Berman in this courtroom saying that Lyle Menendez told him that he had been out. No, that's not what Perry said. Perry said that Lyle did not deny that he had been out. Well, you're saying that you were not out with your brother, Lyle Menendez, that day. Is that correct? Without a question, I was not out with Lyle. I was out by myself. So after you learned two things from your brother, number one, that your father had said, "What does it matter anymore?" in reference to the tennis camp, and number two, that he had lied to Perry Berman, you then felt that you were in a crisis situation? With everything else that went along with it, I didn't want to be in the house anymore. Lyle was telling me that he didn't want to be in the house anymore. I agreed, and we decided to leave. Well, did you feel that this was a crisis situation in which your father was probably going to kill you at that point? We felt it was very ominous sign. We felt that they were bad signs. I didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want to stay alone with Lyle in the house anymore. Absolutely. Did you feel that your father was going to kill you at that point? I wasn't sure, but I was concerned about the situation. Would you say that your assessment of the threat at that point was as great as Sunday as Thursday night when your father was banging on your door, or as great as Saturday night when your father was banging on your door? What's with all these? Who cares if it's as great, not as great? Who gives a crap? The whole freaking week was full of tension. Sometimes it peaked, and sometimes there was less tension because, oh, hold on. Sorry. Now my other dog hates the mailman, and the mailman just went by. So, okay, now we got to readjust and everything. Okay. So, I forgot what I was saying. Banging on your door or as great as Saturday night. Yeah, what's with all these questions like, are you more afraid, less afraid? Who cares? The whole weekend he was scared, things were tense, he was in a fight or flight state all the time. So, all the time when he was at home. Well, you felt the nights when you felt in greatest danger between Thursday and Sunday afternoon were Thursday night when your father was banging on your door and Saturday night when your father was banging on your door. Is that correct? Yes. And those were your two most fearful moments that week. Is that correct? Up until Saturday afternoon? I would say Thursday night in general, not just when he was banging on the door. I would say right before we were going on the fishing trip. And yes. And so, how would you rate this? Your evaluation of the threat at that point in time before you went over to the main house on Sunday night in reference to Thursday night and Saturday night. Objection, it assumes he can rate it. And like he's doing that, in his head. It's all scary. You're not thinking, oh, that was scarier than the other thing. No, you're thinking, God damn, my father is terrifying and I just want to crumble up and die. You know, you're not thinking that. Anyways, um, Mr. Levin says objection if he can even rate it. The court says if you can answer the question. Erik says, I mean, you're asking me to rate with percentages and I can only rate it with emotion. Mr. Khan says, I'm not asking you to rate with percentages. I am asking you to rate it in terms of how fearful you were, how much you believed at that point that your father was actually going to kill you at that night. I didn't know that he was absolutely going to kill me. I did not know that. I didn't know that my mother had decided to take our lives. I did not make that decision. I thought that these were bad signs. Emotionally, I did not like the situation. I felt fear. I did not want to be in the house anymore. I told Lyle that we would just get out of there and stay away. And well, what I'm asking you is what did you think was the likelihood that your father was going to kill you before you went over to the main house? Emotionally, I felt that was a bad sign. Did you feel that you were in as much danger as you were going over to the main house as you had been on Thursday night when your father was banging on the door? No. Did you feel that you were in as much danger as you had been Saturday night when your father was banging on your door? Clearly, I was not in as much danger on Saturday night. So, but his answer would absolutely change if he were home and he ran into Jose face to face in the hallway or something. Then his level of being afraid would skip all the way to terrified. So his level is, it's in relation to being close to his father or his mother. It's in relation to his interactions with his parents. Clearly, I was not in as much danger on Saturday night, he says. Well, did you feel that you were in as much danger as when you were about to go on the fishing trip? That's difficult to answer. Certainly, I was in more danger Saturday night. So you felt somewhat similar to the situation on Saturday before you went on the fishing trip. Is that correct? Objection. It's argumentative. Sustained. Did you feel that the dangerous situation was somewhat similar to the way it was on Saturday just before you went on the fishing trip? I don't know if I can answer the question. I mean, I haven't. I have never been asked that question before in the 6.5 years. And looking back on it, for me to tell you if my fear was higher at this time versus just before when I was on the fishing trip, when I was afraid as well, it's impossible for me to give you a comparison and percentages. I was afraid. I thought he definitely might do something. It was a bad situation. I didn't want to be at home anymore. That's the most I can tell you. Stop freaking asking the question. The whole weekend was tense. And again, it has to do with his interactions with his parents, or if he saw them, or if Jose was banging on the door, or whatever. It was the tension built up even stronger or worse when Jose was around. Okay, now you felt that the danger was the greatest when the two of you were together, is that correct? Yes. So did you tell your brother at that point that it would be good, that it would not be good for both of you to go to the main house at this particular point in time in light of the level of danger? Yes, we wanted to leave the house. He wanted to tell mom and dad that we were going out. He felt that we could not say that we were going out and just leave. That was the wrong thing to do. I felt that we should just leave. We went with Lyle's decision and I understood. So we get a brief glimpse of why they went back in the house. Lyle wanted to be the good son, to please his parents, and just let them know we're going out, we'll be back. That's all I wanted to say. And that's when the confrontation continued because Kitty's like, oh, no, you're not. You're not leaving this house. And that's when it all started back up again. The tension increased. Okay. What I'm asking you, Mr. Menendez, is the decision for you and your brother to both appear in front of your parents in the main house at the time when you felt that there was some danger. Whose idea was that? There was never a decision to both appear in the main house in front of my parents. That didn't happen. We didn't think about those things. Well, did you go to the main house together? Yes. Did you walk into the door right behind one another? Yes. And you were both not more than a few feet away when your brother was telling your mother that he was going out. I was in the foyer, he was in the den. Okay. And how far? How far apart were you at that point in time? We were in two separate rooms. Well, how far apart? 15, 20 feet? Now, in light of the level of danger as you assessed in that evening, Mr. Menendez, did you think it was a good idea for both of you to go into the main house and appear in front of your parents no more than about 15 feet apart? I didn't think it was a good idea to go into the main house. I didn't want to go into the main house. Lyle said I had not been home the entire day. Mom and dad had not seen me the entire day. To go out now would be a bad idea without telling them. That would certainly bring things to a head and make the situation lethal. And so he said he's just going to tell them that we were going out to the movies so I can get out, and said, fine, we'll do that. And when Lyle went into the den, I purposely avoided the den because I did not want to be in there. Do you understand? I am asking you why you went in together and not why that you went into the house. Why either of you went into the house. Objection, it's argumentative. Sustained. Finally, a sustained. Could you tell us, Mr. Menendez, if either you told your brother or your brother told you at any time before going into the home that evening that it probably wouldn't be a good idea to go into the house together in light of the situation at hand? I don't know what you're asking. I thought I answered your question. Love that. He has, but this guy keeps asking it again and again. Was there any conversation about whether or not you and your brother should go in the house together? You mean whether or not? So you're separating out whether or not we should go into the house versus whether or not we should go together. That's what the question is. Did I read that right? Separating out whether or not we should go into the house versus whether or not we should go together. Yes, okay. That's what the question is. I didn't understand. No. And is that because you didn't feel that you were in the greatest danger when you were together? It's because I didn't analyze the situation that way and think about all these little components to the fear and decide what was the absolute greatest percentage for things not to happen. I simply wasn't processing the information like a freaking computer. I added that part. He says, I wasn't thinking that way. I wasn't processing that way. I just was going on what I thought. I was going on what I thought best. Lyle was going in the house. I went behind him. I'm telling you, I just did not think about it. Now you said normally during this period of time, tell your mother everywhere you were going, did you? Objection vague as to this period of time. Overruled, says the court. The witness says this weekend was very different than what would happen normally. Mr. Khan says, so normally you would just go to the movies if you were going to go to the movies. Is that correct? Without telling your parents? No, I wouldn't say that's true. Well, you would often leave the home without telling your parents where you were going. Is that correct? I did leave the home at times, but generally I had seen them earlier in the day. It was not a tense situation. They weren't angry at me. That's a key factor too. You hadn't just told your brother your dad's greatest secrets that could put him in jail. So then, in the normal situation, did you tell your parents when you were coming and going? Usually. Objection vague as to normally, Your Honor. Overruled. Your answer? Usually. Okay, so you went into the main house and you and your brother had a conversation with your mother. Is that correct? I just heard what you said. I just heard what was said coming out of the den. I didn't hear what was said inside the den. So he could hear Lyle, but he couldn't hear, probably couldn't hear Kitty or Jose. You're staying in the foyer area when you saw your brother and your mother come out of the den. Is that correct? In the in the doorway between the entry room and the living room. And what happened next? My brother walked out of the den and I heard my mother following. Well, I saw my mother following him saying, no, you can't go out tonight. Did you at any time tell your mother that you were going to go? No, I didn't. I didn't. Did you hear your brother tell your mother where you were going to go? I didn't think about it. I assumed that he said that we were going to the movies. Were you in fact going to go to the movies at that time? No, we weren't. Where were you going to go? To this Taste of LA thing with Perry. And if you were going to go to the Taste of LA thing, can you tell us why you assumed that your brother was telling your mother that you were going to go to the movies instead? Because he had told me that he was going to say that we were going to the movies because that would be normal, a normal thing to do, that we would do. It wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary or unusual. It would just be the easiest way to get out of the house. Well, don't you feel that perhaps the danger from your parents would be less if you were to tell your parents that you were going to be among the evening, um, that you were going to be among people that evening? Sorry, skipped a word right there. Let me start that over. The danger from your parent, did you feel that perhaps the danger from your parents would be less if you were to tell your parents that you were going to be among people that evening and friends that evening rather than simply be at a movie theater? I never considered it. And you never discussed that with your brother, is that correct? No. Now you heard your mother tell your brother that you couldn't go to the movies, is that correct? No. She told Lyle that we couldn't go out that night. Then what happened? Lyle asked my mom why we couldn't go out. And then what happened? And she was trying to answer him. She couldn't answer him. And she stuttered because I said so. What happened next? My father came out of the den and he said, shut up, Kitty. Wow, he's really nice. What happened next? He told Lyle that he was going to go out. he told Lyle that he wasn't going to go out tonight. He saw me. He told me to get up to my room and that he would be there in a minute. That was his cue that Erik's getting the brutal treatment tonight, most likely. Go to your room and I'll be there in a minute. What happened next? My brother told my father that he wasn't going to me. He said, "You're not going to touch Erik. You're not going to touch my little brother." He told me not to go up the stairs. I was lingering on the stairs at that point. What happened next? My father was moving towards my brother. He said, "Don't tell me what to do in this family. He's not your little brother. He's my son." He was lingering on the stairs and he told me to get up the stairs. Or he saw me, sorry. He saw me lingering on the stairs and he told me to get up the stairs. Then what happened? Lyle said, "No, you're not going to touch Erik." He was up. He was right in front of Lyle at that point, and he said, "I do what I want in this family," or "I say what I want in this family." And he said, "You're not going out." And then he went back into the den. Then what happened? I was on top of the balcony by that point, and I remember looking down at my mother and my brother said to my mom something along the lines of, "Are you going to let this happen, or do you want this to happen?" And I don't remember exactly what she said, something along the lines of, "You have ruined this family." Then what happened? My dad came out to the den and grabbed my arm, or grabbed my mom, told her to go back into the den and to shut the door. Whoops. Um, so yeah. Jose basically lays down the law, says, "None of you are going out. This is my house. I'm going to do what I want to my sons and also my wife because I'm going to tell her to shut up and in front of my kids and then also drag her back into the study when she's not following me." Seems real nice. Okay, now I have a photograph here I have shown to counsel of the foyer. This may be marked as 379. Now, at this point in time, at this point of time that you're referring to, you had already gone up the stairs to the second floor of your home. Is that correct? Yes. Can you tell us what that photograph depicts? That is the foyer and the den in the back. The stairs, and over the right is the living room and the entry. That doorway is between the foyer and the living room. And that's the first flight of stairs. Then you make a left, and there is another flight of stairs to get you to the second floor. Is that correct? Right. Now, when you were up at the top of the stairs, by the time your father closed the door to the den, by that time your father closed the door to the den? Wait. Now, were you up at the top of the stairs by the time your father closed the door to the den? Yes, I was. Did your brother come up the stairs after your father closed the door to the den? He did. Did you remain standing at the top of the stairs after your father closed the door to the den? I ran over to the top of the stairs where he was coming up. At this point, I ran over the stairs. You ran from where to where? From the balcony of the top of the stairs. Okay. And you met your brother at the top of the stairs, is that correct? Yes. Did you have a conversation with your brother at that time? Yes. What did that conversation consist of? I was just telling Lyle that I couldn't let Dad come into my room. I couldn't let him come into my room. I was just gushing out words in a panic. Did you decide at that point it's time to leave the home? No. My brother said to me, "Don't worry about it. It's happening now. Don't you see? It's happening now." Did you tell your brother at that point it's time to leave the home? No, sir. So what did you tell your brother at that point? I told him I needed to get to my car. Was there any further conversation at that top of the stairs? I don't remember if my brother said they were waiting for you to get home, or I was thinking about, I was thinking it. I don't specifically remember any other words. So, like, they were gonna, this is it, this is time, means this is the moment that they're going to kill us. And then he says they were waiting for you. Well, Lyle says to Eric, they were waiting for you to get home. So he thinks like this, him being gone all day prolonged it. And now that Eric's home, they're probably going to act out their plans to kill them. But he says, I don't specifically remember any other words. Mr. Khan asks, but you said you needed to get to your car. Did your brother say anything about the car? I don't remember him saying anything about the car. There was no conversation about meeting at that car? There wasn't a conversation. There was me gushing out, I can't let Dad come into my room. I can't let this happen. He said, don't you see? It's happening now. And I said, I've got to get to my car. And I took off. So it wasn't a conversation. He didn't say anything to you at the top of the stairs. I just told you what he said to me. He said, it's happening now. It was a conversation in which you both participated. Is that correct? Objection. It's argumentative. Overruled. It's what I just described. However you describe it. Mr. Khan says, and when you said I need to get to the car, was there any response from your brother Lyle? I don't specifically remember a response. I just remember that I was losing control of my body and running into my room. Now, why did you feel that at that point that you needed to get to your car? Because that's where the shells were to my gun. But you didn't go back to your car, you went to your room. Is that correct? That's right. Why is it that you went to your room instead of going to your car? Because my gun was in my room. So you realized at that point that first you have to go to your room and get your gun, and then you have to take your gun to your car, and you have to reload it in your car. Is that correct? I didn't even think about it. It was just in my mind. Run to my room. I kept saying to myself, hurry, hurry. I wasn't thinking about those steps. Well, you thought about the fact that you had useless ammunition in your gun at that point. Is that correct? I didn't even have to think about it. I knew I had to get the other shells in my room. Or in it for my gun, sorry. Are you saying that it didn't occur to you that he had useless ammunition in his gun? In your gun? Oh my god, I can't read now. It's getting to be that time where everything is starting to jumble together in my mouth. Sorry. Apologies. Give me a sip of water. Are you saying that it didn't occur to you that you had useless ammunition in your gun? I am saying it's not something that occurred to me. It's just something that I knew. It's something that you thought about, wasn't it? If it's in the back of your mind, you don't need to think about it if you just know something. This is the dumbest questioning. It's so frustrating that you keep asking the same stupid questions, Mr. Khan. I don't know what I would describe it like, or that I would describe it like that. Is it because you don't want to tell this jury because were you thinking at the time? Objection, it's argumentative. The witness says no. Mr. Levin says he answered the question. Overruled, says the court. Mr. Khan says, so did you picture in your mind the gun that you have to go get? I don't believe so. Mr. Menendez, how was it that you were able to recall in this state, which you describe as a panic state, loading your gun when you had not been able to remember doing that since you purchased the ammunition Sunday afternoon? Objection, argumentative. Sustained. Can you tell us, Mr. Menendez, why it was that it occurred to you at this particular time that you had to reload your gun? It occurred to me at this point, like it occurred to me on Saturday night when my dad was banging on the door. I can't tell you why. Didn't think about it before, or I didn't do it before. It's just suddenly I was faced with immediate danger, and I just knew I had to get the shells in the gun. I should have done it before. I don't know why it occurred to me, but it did occur to you. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, and when it occurred to you, then you put two and two together and said, first, I have to go up to the room and get the gun, and then I have to go out to the car. I have to unload my gun. I have to reload my gun in order to protect myself. Is that correct? Mr. Levin says, argumentative, objection, argumentative. And the court overrules it, of course. And the witness says, it didn't happen like that. Mr. Khan says, I thought I was going to die immediately. Oh, wait, sorry. Nope, that's not Mr. Khan. With the witness is continuing to talk, but Mr. Khan was at the front of the sentence. So I thought he was talking. Never mind. The witness is saying, it didn't happen like that, Mr. Khan. I thought I was going to die immediately. It was such a it was such a rush of adrenaline and fear and panic that I didn't say, I've got to go get my gun and I've got to go out to the car. Got to make sure I get the shells out of the box and load them in my box or load them in my gun. There were just things that I did and knew I had to do. I'm not saying whether you said it or not. I am asking you whether you made those connections. Yes, I did make those connections. Was your car locked? My car was never locked. I left the keys in the car. So you ran down, you went across the balcony to get to get into your bedroom. Is that correct? Objection with respect to that balcony. I think, and then he gets cut off by the court, who says he is not referring to the photographs. Mr. Khan says, I'm not referring to the photographs. Next question says, you had to go across the balcony to get to the second floor. Is that correct? Yes. And where inside your bedroom is your closet? It's inside the room. Let me get the exhibit. Okay, so you went from the top of the stairs over towards bedroom number 2. You went down this balcony here and you went into your bedroom. Is that correct? Right. I went into my bedroom. The closet was over there. And here is your closet over here. Is that correct? Yes. And was your gun inside the bag of the closet? I don't remember the gun being inside the bag. Okay. Are you saying that that gun was not inside the bag at that point? I am saying I don't remember reaching into a bag for the gun. I just remember the gun being there. So, to your knowledge, you're saying it was not inside the bag. I can't tell you either way. I can tell you that I don't remember it being inside the bag. Why that's my theory or how it logically fits, I have no idea. I am just telling you what my memory is. So you grabbed the gun out of the closet here and you came back into the bedroom and then went back across the balcony. Is that correct? Yes. When you were carrying your gun at that point in time, the gun was not in the bag, I take it? No. And what were you thinking about at that time? I just, I remember specifically saying to myself, hurry, hurry, hurry. I just felt like just this caving in sense of fear, this caving in sense of fear. That's clunkily, clunkily, clunk, clunky wording. I was gonna say clunkily written, but that I don't think that's a word either. Clunkily. Now I'm making up stuff. All right. So where was I? I remember specifically saying to myself, hurry, hurry, hurry. I just felt like just this caving in sense of fear. Did you say to yourself at that point in time, maybe it's time to run away from home after all? Seriously, can we object and say asked and answered? Although it won't help because the judge will just say overruled, but we've been through this already. I don't remember it flashing in my mind. I was just thinking about the fact that they were coming out of the den, and if they got out of the den before I got there, I was going to die. Well, did you think about barricading yourself inside your room? I think it flashed through my mind, yes. So that was another option that you considered, is that correct? I would I wouldn't have considered. I remember as I ran into the room, it flashing from my mind to lock the door, close the door, and I didn't even take it a step further than that. I just continued running for my gun. Can you tell us why you rejected the barricading option at that point in time? Objection argumentative, overruled. I can't tell you why. Mr. Khan says, well, you had a lock on your door, didn't you? I did. And you had ammunition inside your gun, is that correct? Yes. Why didn't you just lock the door? I don't know why. I just didn't lock the door. I didn't lock the door. Did you decide that you were going to have to shoot and kill your parents? That wasn't even in my mind. It flashed in my mind to lock the door. And I didn't even think about it further than that. It was just a flash as I was running. And you were determined at that point in time that you were going to shoot and kill your parents. I don't even, I just remember saying to myself, hurry, hurry, and doing one thing after another. So you went across the balcony and then you ran down the stairs to the first floor. Is that correct? Yes. Now, after you got downstairs, down this flight of stairs, tell me, did you know where Lyle Menendez was at the time? No. Were you thinking about where Lyle Menendez was at that time? No. Did you care where Lyle Menendez was at that point in time? No. So you came down the flight of stairs, and where did you go from there? I remember running across the foyer because I remember the feeling of the doors being locked and then being able to come out of them, and I ran into the study. What do you mean the feeling of the doors being locked? Are you referring to the front entry doors here in your home? No, I'm referring to the den doors. You're saying these den doors, these locked? Yeah. Okay. Did you go out the first front to your home? The first front doors to your home? No, I went out the study door. Can you tell us why you didn't choose to go out the front doors to your home? I can't even tell you why. Do those doors make noise when you open them? Yes. I think they do. And it's because you didn't want to disturb your parents and let them know what you and your brother were up to come in there and shoot them up. Sure. Okay. And then I think I just said that the study doors. What? I don't know. I don't know. Sorry. I just flaked there for a second. Okay. So the study doors. I think I just said that the study doors make noise. The study doors make noise. Yes. Do the front doors to your home make noise? I suppose if you were to open it and shut it, the shutting would make noise. They're very large doors, aren't they? Yes. And you didn't want to bang these doors and let your parents know that you were going to get a gun and going to shoot them. No. I have another photograph that I would like to mark as 380 the front door. So what you did, you're telling us that instead of going out the front door to your home, the front door to your home, You decided to go into the study. Is that correct? Objection, argumentative, overruled. It's just where I went, Mr. Khan asks. And you went through the windows, the long windows that you could walk through, like a door through the study. Is that correct? I considered them doors. Okay, and why did you not go through the front doors to your home? I don't even know. Can you tell us what photographer depicts? Sorry, can you tell us what that photograph depicts? I said photographer and I said what? It's what that photographer depicts. It depicts the front door being opened to the house. I don't know what bag that was in the foyer. I don't believe the bag was there before. And it's the one door that always stayed closed and the other door is open. You didn't go through the door when you left your home, is that correct? Objection asked and answered. Overruled. No, I didn't. Let me show you another photograph which I have marked as 388, depicting the doors to the study. Can you tell us what we are looking at here? Looking at the doors to the study, I can't see if they're both open. I think both of them are open because one of them is open, the foyer and the den in the back room. Okay. So these doors that you were looking at over here are the same doors as the previous photos to the right side of the photograph. Is that correct? Right. I have another photograph, 382, which I will show you at this time. Can you tell us what that picture depicts? Those are the doors that I went through. That is the study, correct? Right. And it depicts the doors right behind that sofa that you went through. Is that correct? Yes, the ones with the open blinds. Now, what type of latch does that door have on it? I have no idea. I don't recall the latch. Or you don't recall the latch on the door? I just recall that you turn the handle and open the door. It's pretty much my knowledge of doors too, that you can usually turn a knob and door opens or closes. No, it happens up into a concrete terrace, not balcony, because it's on the floor. It opens up into I'm sure you've got a better picture of it, a balcony-like area that's concrete next to the door. I'm sure you've got a better picture of it, a balcony-like area that's concrete next to the door. What? So, in other words, once you step outside that door right there and you want to go into the driveway area, you have to step over or climb over some type of impediment. Is that correct? Not all. Okay, I can fix that. Not, no, not at all. How do you get around that impediment, Mr. Levin? Objection. Mr. Levin says objection, assumes that there is an impediment. The court says sustained. Mr. Khan says, is there anything in your way? When you step outside your door, is there anything in your way that prevents you from going straight to the front gate? Yes. What is in your way? It's a concrete balcony, um, it's about 3 feet high and it has bushes on it and it's open to one side, which was the entryway. And how to circumvent that balcony as you can, did you go through the open side? It's the only way out. Well, you can also climb over this little balcony, can't you? Yeah, but there's all kinds of bushes in front of it, palm tree-like things. So you went around the open side of this balcony, is that correct? Yes. And is it still your intervention as you came down as you came down these stairs, and as you went into the study door, and as you went through the study and out those front doors, that you were going to go out to your car? You were going to repair your gun, and you were going to come back in school. You were going to come back in and shoot your parents in detail. Is that correct? Objection, argumentative, assumes facts not in evidence, and misstates his testimony. The court says, sustained, sustained. Mr. Khan says, was it your intervention at that time in point, at that point in time? Oh my God. We're going to get through this. I need a break. I need a little tongue, mouth break, and refresh, and then I'll be back. All right. I got up, walked around my garden, ate a grapefruit. It was delicious. And now I'm back. So I feel refreshed. Let's get back to it. Mr. Khan says, was it your that objection was sustained. Sorry if I didn't say that. Mr. Khan says, was it your intention at that point in time that you were going to reload your gun and shoot your parents? No. What were you running around for then? I was running to get my car to put shells in my car, he means gun, as soon as I could, and that's what I was thinking about at that exact time. I remember running across the foyer, looking at the den doors, seeing them closed, knowing that they were going to come out of them at any second. So your only purpose was not to shoot your parents. Your only purpose at that point in time was to simply put shells in your gun. Is that correct? That's what I don't even know that I was thinking about that. I was just saying to myself, hurry, hurry, hurry at that second. This is just what I did. I want to just remind you guys, this is re-traumatizing to go through this over and over again. This is his second trial that he's got to be on the stand for, in total, both trials, 15 days, 7 days in total for trial number 2. And it's got to be so hard to go to say that not only in front of the judge, lawyers, family members, strangers, whoever's in the courtroom at the time that you're testifying to this, but then it's immortalized on the record. People like me can come by years later and read it. And we all know the most horrific and terrible things that happened in Erik's life. All of us know. Could you imagine if that were you and the whole world knew? It's got to be humiliating, traumatizing, horrific to have to go through this over and over again. And now they're going to have to go through it over and over again with what they were doing with the resentencing and all of that. And Nathan Hochman was being a total douchebag, trying to block everything that the brothers were trying to do to get out. And I don't know what the state's problem is with these two brothers, but uh-oh, it's the puppy playtime now. He's running like a hurricane. All right, sorry. So he's just thinking, hurry, hurry, hurry. This is what he needs to get done. Wait, all you're saying is what you needed to accomplish at that point in time was to put shells in your gun. Is that correct? Well, I mean, the feeling was that I was going to die and I wanted to stop my parents from killing me. That's what I was thinking. That's what was in the back of my mind, I guess. But I was just saying to myself, hurry, hurry, hurry. How are you planning to stop your parents from killing you? Any way I could. First, you were going to put shells in your gun. Is that correct? Yes. And then? And then I had to get to the den. It was just in my mind to go through the den and start shooting. It's weird that they both kind of came up with that. I talked about this on another channel called something called Folie à Deux, where two people can have the same delusion. I don't know if that's the right term, but you can have the same uh thoughts that are not necessarily rational or within reality. Two people together can have these thoughts, especially when both are traumatized. It could have been a little bit of folie à deux. It's like I think it's a French term where these two individuals have like-minded, not necessarily hallucinations or whatever, but different beliefs can come from that. All right. Anyways, folie à deux. It's interesting. I remember there was a case about it, but I can't remember all the specifics. But it's really interesting. Hold on, let me see if I can get a definition for us. Okay, so yeah, it says it's a rare psychiatric syndrome in which one person's psychotic delusions or paranoid beliefs are transmitted to an adopted. Oh, sorry, let me rephrase that. They are It's a rare psychiatric syndrome in which one person's psychotic delusions or paranoid beliefs are transmitted to and adopted by another closely associated person. It literally translates from French as madness of two. Folie à deux. The phenomenon generally involves two primary components: the inducer, the dominant individual who originally develops the psychotic symptoms. Maybe Erik transferred his symptoms onto Lyle, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever considered this or thought about it, but um, to have such fear, both of them, I wonder if they fed off of each other's fear, kind of like this folie à deux. The secondary person is the passive person, so that would maybe be Lyle. I don't know, because since the abuse was happening to Erik, and he was in such tormented state that maybe he transferred that on to Lyle at the time. I don't know. It frequently occurs in couples, siblings, or parents and children who live together and withdraw from outside social interactions. They didn't have a lot of social interaction. I mean, they had friends and whatnot, but they weren't like really close, and they didn't have a whole lot of time to spend with friends. As you know, they spent all of their free time playing tennis. So that was their whole lives. And they didn't have time to make friends. So I could imagine that not having that social aspect of their lives could perhaps do that to him. There's a folie à trois. Is that how you say three? When the person or when the delusion is shared by three people. So I didn't know that that could go. And there's one for the whole family. And one for just several individuals, but I have no idea how to pronounce that. So there's different versions apparently of folie à deux. I did not know that. And you can have more than one person in the delusion with you. So I just thought that was interesting and wanted to bring that to your attention because I believe Erik that he really did think that he was going to die. Whether that's a rational thought or not doesn't matter to me because I didn't live in that house. Erik had to live in that house every day and fear that his dad was going to come into his room, not me. So I give him all the credit, all the love in the world because no one should ever have to experience what he went through. And yet here we are re-traumatizing him again. Okay. Where were we? Something about the den. First, you were going to put shells in your gun. Is that correct? Yes. And then? And then I had to get to the den. It was just in my mind to go through the den and start shooting. So you were planning as you were coming down those stairs that you were going to put shells in your gun and then go back and shoot your parents. Is that correct? I wasn't thinking these things at the time. I can tell you looking back on it, that's what I did. And so I'm telling you that that had to have been what was in my mind, I guess. At the time, you're just not thinking all of these things. You're just not reacting to the situation, and you just feel your life slipping away, and you're just running as fast as you can. You were making decisions during this time period, weren't you? I don't know what you mean by that. You made a decision to go to your room and go get your gun, didn't you, Mr. Menendez? I guess so. He just told you he didn't have a logical, like, reasonable way of logic in his mind, like, I'm gonna go do this, and then I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this. It was just I'm just moving. I'm just moving out of fear, out of that fight or flight state. You don't have a decision, or you made a decision to go to your room. I guess so. You made a decision not to barricade yourself. Is that correct? I would not call it a decision. You made a choice. I wouldn't even call it a choice. What would you call it? I didn't even consider it. It just flashed in my mind, and that's the only thing that I remember about that feeling. You thought of doing it and you decided not to? Is that correct? No, that would not be correct. Did you think about barricading yourself? It flashed into my mind. Did you decide to barricade yourself? No. Why not? Don't know. Objection asked and answered. Overruled. Why not? I don't know. Because you rejected the option, didn't you? Argumentative. The witness says to reject an option, you have to. Mr. Levin says, Mr. Menendez. The court says overruled. The witness says you have to think about it. You're on survival mode and you're running. And because thoughts pop into your mind, you don't think about them. I just ran into my room to get my gun. I didn't think, close the door, lock it, maybe I can barricade myself. No, that's not a good idea. I remember it flashing into my mind because I do, and that's why I am telling you. I do. Mr. Khan says you considered it momentarily. Is that correct? I'm telling you it flashed into my mind whether I considered it, I don't know. And you made a decision to go out to your car and put the good ammunition in your gun. Is that correct? That's what I knew I had to do. And you decided to do that, didn't you? I never thought of anything else. You made a decision not to go through the front doors, but to go through the study doors. Is that correct? I cannot tell you why I went into the study. Looking back on it, I can't tell you why. I just did it. I'm not asking you why. I don't remember making a decision running across the foyer with my gun in my hands, thinking of if they come out of the foyer now, this. I just can't tell you why I went into the study. I'm not asking you why. I'm asking, or I'm saying you made a decision to go through the study rather than the front doors of your home. Is that correct? Objection, Your Honor. It's argumentative. Sustained. And at some point, as you were going through the foyer, did you look back to see if your parents were chasing you? I don't know. You don't know? I remember looking towards the den and seeing the doors closed. I don't remember looking behind me. I was aware clearly that no one was chasing me from behind. Is that because you looked back to see if your parents were chasing you? I don't specifically remember looking back at that point. Directing counsel's attention to volume 99, page 16, 683, lines 26 through 28. What lines, Mr. Khan? Says Mr. Levin. Khan says 26 through 28. Mr. Levin says, Your Honor, there is an objection with respect to that. It's not impeaching. The court says, okay, let me see it. Line 26 through 28. Mr. Levin says, please focus on the time that the answer refers to. Ms. Abramson says, we would object, Your Honor, and ask the court to read from lines 20 down to put it in context. There's a brief pause in the proceedings, and then the court says, okay, and what is the question you want to ask? Mr. Khan says, whether he looked back to see if someone was chasing him. At what time? At what point? Mr. Khan says, I'll ask him at any time, at any point on the way out to the car. Court says, okay, why don't you ask the question then? Mr. Khan says, okay. At any time after you entered into the foyer until the time that you got out of the house in the parking area, did you ever look back to see if someone was chasing you? I know I was aware that no one was chasing me. The question is, did you ever look back to see if anyone was chasing you? I don't specifically recall looking back, but you can tell if someone's after you. You can hear things and noises and such. Plus, we have senses that we don't know. Like you kind of know when there's someone laser focused on you. Mr. Khan says, I would ask to read lines 26 through 28 at this time. Um, Court says, okay, well, why don't you go back to line 20? Mr. Khan says, okay. Do you remember being asked the following questions and giving the following answers in the first trial? Question, and when you went out that door, no one was chasing you? Answer, I didn't remember anyone behind me, no. Question, and you got out to the outside to the front of the house? Answer, yes. Question, and did you look back and no one was chasing you? Answer, I looked back and no one was chasing me. May I see it? All right. Yes. Okay, so you did look back at some point, is that correct? I was aware that no one was behind me chasing me. Right now, do I specifically recall looking back? No, I'm sure that I did. So you don't remember at what point in time you looked back, is that correct? Ooh, you really got him there. He's such a non-credible witness because he doesn't remember what time he looked back as he was potentially fearing, well, he was fearing for his life, but potentially, fearing that Jose and Kitty might be around the corner. And you looked back because you considered the possibility that there might be someone behind you and you wanted to check and make sure there was no one behind you. Is that correct? I have no idea. And when, after looking back and realizing that no one was chasing you, you realized that your parents had not come out of the room yet. Is that correct? Objection, argumentative. The court says rephrase the question. Mr. Khan says, did you realize after you looked back and saw that no one was chasing you, did you realize that your parents had not come out of that room? I remember knowing that my parents were still on the opposite side of the den with the doors closed and that they were coming out of the den. That's what I remember. You didn't know what your parents were doing, did you? Looking back, the answer is no. Looking back, I thought they were doing something different. So at the time, he thought that they were plotting to do something to Eric and Lyle. At the time, you didn't know what your parents were doing, did you? Well, I thought there were guns in the room at the time. At the time, you didn't know what your parents were doing, did you? Objection, vague as to what time. Mr. Khan says, by the time you got out to the front driveway area, you didn't know what your parents were doing, did you? I didn't know specifically what they were doing. When I was in the driveway area, I thought they were coming out. I thought I was going to die. I would never have run into the room had I not thought that. And because you didn't know what your parents were doing, for all you know, you have been in there eating blueberries and whipped cream, correct? For all you know, they could have been in there eating blueberries and whipped cream. They love to tell this story that they were just eating some blueberries and whipped cream. Which I don't even know if that's what it was, but or if it was even from that day. Their house was a mess, even though they had housekeepers. So I don't understand, but they were not tidy folks. Mr. Levin says objection argumentative. The court says sustained. Mr. Khan says your father had not threatened you at any time that day. Is that correct? I took him coming and saying that he was going to be in my room in a minute as what it would be. Your father never told you that he was going to kill you that day, did he? I thought that's what he was saying. I thought my life was ending. I thought they were going to come and kill me. He never said those precise words. Your father never said those words. Is that correct? He never used those words on that day. And yet, when you took the stand in this trial, within a few minutes of your direct examination, you told this jury that your father told you that he was going to kill you. Do you remember that testimony? Objection. It's argumentative. Court says, rephrase the question. Mr. Khan says, within a few minutes of taking the witness stand in this case, did you testify that your father told you that he was going to kill you? Objection. It's argumentative, and I request a page and a line cite. Overruled, overruled. How is it overruled? He needs a line cite. If you're going to be citing from the first trial transcript, Mr. Levin says, what does he mean by a few minutes, Your Honor? The court says, that's the question, and the witness can answer it. Erik says, I remember Mr. Levin asking me why I thought I was going to die, and I remember saying because I thought my parents were going to kill me. I remember I'd have to see it exactly. Oh, so they're talking in this trial. In this trial that he said that? Mr. Khan says, are you saying that you testified only that you thought your parents were going to kill you? Objection, argumentative. The witness says, it's very difficult. Objection, sustained. Mr. Khan says, isn't it true that you testified in direct examination that page and line, says the court? Mr. Khan says, yes, page 43073. Which volume, says Mr. Levin. Mr. Khan says, volume 257. Ms. Abramson says, page counsel 43073. Ms. Abramson says, lines counsel, lines 18 through 22. Mr. Levin says, objection, Your Honor, it's not impeaching. The court says, okay, we'll have to see it. Mr. Levin says, there's no time specified. That's the basis of the objection. Sustained. Objection is sustained. Mr. Khan says, your father did not threaten you that day by saying, I'm going to kill you, did he? He didn't use those words. That's what he meant. That's what I thought he meant. Your mother did not threaten you that day by using such words, did she? No. You saw no weapons that day, did you? What do you mean? Your parents never held any weapons against you that day, did they? No. You didn't see any weapons near your parents that day, did you? No. There was a rifle or two rifles produced in this courtroom. Did you recognize them? Yes. When was the last time you had seen those rifles prior to August the 20th of 1989? Physically saw them? Yes. I don't know. I don't remember. What is your best estimate of when was the last time you saw those weapons prior to the time that you shot your parents to death? I know I saw them when she bought them and she said what she said. I know what I saw I saw them in her closet because I know exactly where they were next to the boxes. But when I saw them in her closet, exactly, I don't know. And while any of these events were transpiring that week, did you ever go up to that closet to see if those rifles were there? No. Let's take a recess. We'll resume at 3:30. So they take their afternoon break. Now they're going to, oh, it looks like they might break early. What does it say? The court says, without the jury present, Mr. Levin says, yes, Your Honor, before the last break, I noticed that my client appeared to be in some distress and discomfort. He is, at this time, in pain, back pain, and it is rather severe. He feels he can continue, but what I'm asking the court is that we break promptly at 4:30 and not go beyond then. I don't want that to be an issue before the jury. The court says, we'll try to break around that time. I can't say exactly. That means he's not going to do it. Let's have the jury out. Ms. Abramson says, we mean Greenwich Mean Time, exactly 4:30. The jury enters the courtroom and the following proceedings were held. The court says the jury's back and will continue with the cross. Mr. Khan says, Mr. Menendez, you went through the study and you went out the doors to the study to go to the driveway area. Is that correct? Yes. And where was your car parked in the driveway area? I remember it being parked parallel to the house. I'm sorry, just like where that gray car is, except a little bit closer to the steps. So when you say closer to the steps, you're saying it would be parked in the same direction as this car, but closer here where the writing front entrance appears. Is that correct? A little bit back further, but in that exactly like that, but then he points something. It says right here. So you're saying somewhere near the doors to the study, is that correct? Well, there was the bush and the concrete slab in between the doors to the study. I had to run around it. And was there light outside in the driveway area? I don't even know. Did you have lights on out there in the driveway area? There were lights in the driveway area, yes. And was the front of your car faced north or to the south? Which is the north? North would be the top of the diagram. The back was faced to the north. So it was faced in the same direction as that car. Okay. So you ran outside to your car and opened up the hatchback. Is that correct? I don't even remember opening the hatchback. Are you saying that the back of the car was open? No, I must have. It's a pull string that just opens. I don't remember doing it. I must have done it. Well, what do you have to pull to open up the back of the car? It's a thing right next to the door or the car. It's a lever, a little lever. Is that in the back of the car or it's over by the driver's side? By the driver's side, yes. And the ammunition was in the back of the car. Yes. So you had to go over to the driver's side. I must have. I don't remember the hatch being open when I came home. I believe it was locked. I didn't open it. All you do is open the door, pull it, and then the door pops. The back hatch pops open. I'm being attacked by the dog over here. um, and he keeps biting me. He needs a little talking to. Hold on. Continuing on. And I take it that the driver's door was closed at the time too, is that correct? Yes. So when you first opened the door to the study and went outside, you then have to open up the doors on the driver's side of the car, is that correct? I must have done that. And it was still your intention at this time just to get the ammunition and not shoot your parents. Is that what you're saying? I thought they were coming out of the den. I just wanted to stop them from killing me. I don't remember thinking these things. I just remember the mind thumping. Objection, non-responsive. Why don't you re-ask the question? Mr. Menendez says, Mr. Menendez, was your intention at that point in time to shoot your parents or just get the shells and put them in your gun? I don't know what my intention was at that time. You do not recall what your intention was at that point in time, is that correct? I, I recall wanting to get the shells in the back of the car. So did you see your brother Lyle Menendez when you got out there alongside your car? No. After you opened the front door to your car, you pulled this lever that would allow the hatchback to open. Is that correct? What I'm saying is I don't remember doing it. I believe it's the only way unless you unlock it with a key, which I'm sure I didn't do. And once you pulled this lever somewhere near the driver's side, do you then have to go to the back of the car and open up the hatchback, or does the hatchback just spring up automatically? It opens. Sometimes it opened all the way, but normally I don't think it's designed to do that. I think it just opens and you just throw it open when you get there. Okay. Now, did you close the door on the driver's side before you went to the back of the car and opened up the hatchback? I don't remember doing that. So you went to the back door of your car and you opened up the hatchback and you began to look for the shells. Is that correct? Yes. And you still hadn't seen your parents. Is that correct? No. You saw no guns at that time, is that correct? Correct. And you heard no one threatening you at that time, is that correct? Right. And by the time you started to go through the back of your car to look for the shells, had you seen your brother Lyle at that time? No. Now, did you unload your gun before you began to look for the shells in the back of the car, or did you first find the shells in the back of your gun and then unload your gun? I think it means the back of your car. I'm not sure which came first. Is there a light in the back of your car when you open up the hatchback? Yes, I believe so. So you were able to see what you were doing? Yes. Now I believe you testified earlier that you keep a lot of clothing and other stuff in the back of your car. Yes. A lot of teenagers. I know I did when I was a teen. Did you still have the box from the shotgun in the back? I believe so. Did you have the box from your brother's shotgun in the back? I believe so. And you had clothing covering the box? I don't remember seeing the clothing. I believe it was covered though. And the shotgun, the buckshot that you purchased at the store the day before, did you have that out in the open where everyone could see it, or did you have it concealed under something? I remember my dog's making a ton of noise. I don't know if it's picking up on the mic, so I'm gonna pause for a second. Oh, he stopped. He was dragging a bone on the ground. It was really loud. Sorry, he says the shotgun, the buckshot that you purchased at the store the day before, did you have that out in the open where everyone could see it, or did you have it concealed under something? I remember scrambling around for shells. I remember scrambling around for it and ripping open the box. I don't remember anything more than other than I was scrambling around for it. Well, as far as you recall, the last time that you had seen those shotgun shells, did you have those shotgun shells open so that in a place where anyone looking in the car could see it, or did you have it concealed under something so people could not see the shells? I can only give you an estimate, a guesstimate. Probably it was concealed. I don't specifically remember concealing it, but I remember scrambling around for them. What would it be concealed by? Clothing? Yes. And so, do you recall moving some clothing to find the box of shotgun shells? Not specifically. But you remember looking for the shells, is that correct? I don't remember throwing things around in the back. And they weren't loose at that time? They were inside the box. Is that correct? Yes. So you had to open up a box, is that correct? Yes. Now, at the time that you opened up the box, had you seen your brother Lyle Menendez? No. You still hadn't seen your parents, is that correct? Since I saw them last? No. What did you do after you opened up the box of ammunition? I'm not sure if I had already ejected out the shells or if I did it at that point. I know as soon as I had the shells, I started loading them into the gun. Now, what did you have to do to eject those shells? I remember that all you had to do was pump the pump of the gun. Did you have the safety off or on? No idea. Does it matter if the safety is on or off? I remember somebody testifying that it did. I remember from the last trial, Deputy Van Horn testifying about the gun in particular. I assume it does. So was the safety on or off when you started to eject the shells? I don't know. Did you keep the safety on or off when it was in your bedroom? I don't remember ever putting the safety on versus off. I don't know. Okay, so you ejected the shells. How many shells did you eject? Both shells that I had in the gun. And those were the birdshot shells? Right. And you ejected them in the hatchback, I guess. And that is what you were trying to do. Eject them into the hatchback so that they couldn't or wouldn't fall on the floor where people could see them. I I just remember pulling on the pump. I don't remember if they flew out into the back of the hatchback or if they came out into my hand. I don't remember what exactly happened. And what did you do after you ejected the shells? I started loading the other ones, one after another. How many did you load? I think 5. That's the full capacity. What did you have to do to load the shells? You just had to slide them into the gun. And you said you slid in all 5? Yes. And then did you go through that pumping action? I don't remember doing so. I don't remember doing so. I don't know. Did you see the demonstration here in court how you put in a 6th shell in the weapon? You put in all the shells and then you pull it and put in another shell. Yes. No, I didn't do that. Okay, so you put in, to your knowledge, no more than 5 shells. Is that correct? I loaded it as full as I could get it. And then by the time you finished loading your gun, had your brother, Lyle Menendez, arrived at the driveway yet? I remember thinking that he wasn't coming, that I was going to have to go in the room alone. I don't remember exactly at what point he showed up. I just remember the feeling that he wasn't coming. I'm going to have to go in the room alone, and in the panic that caused and the panic that caused me. I remember him being there at some point and saying, "Hurry." And what point in time do you recall your brother arrived? I don't know if I was in the process of loading it or had finished and saw him running in the carport. I don't remember. Were you expecting your brother? Yes, I believe that he would be at the car. Why? Because I told him that I was going to get to the car. And so why did you think that he would go to the car? I don't know. Is that because you knew that he had not loaded the buckshot into the gun? I just remember saying I got to get to the car. I don't remember if he said I'll be there or I'll meet you there. I don't remember those words. I just remember knowing that he wasn't there yet and that I was going to have to run into the room without him. Now, what did you do after you fully loaded your shotgun? I was telling Lyle to hurry. What did you do next? I ran into the house. To do what? I just remember running in, thinking that they were going to come out of the den, and I had motion to strike as non-responsive. Sustained. The answer is stricken. Mr. Khan says, to do what? To live. You ran into the ring. You ran in towards danger to live? Yes. Mr. Menendez, you ran into the room to kill your parents, didn't you? I know that's what I did. That's not what was going through my mind. I remember specifically, before I ran to the door, I remember thinking that Dad was going to grab this gun. I don't remember exactly what was going through my mind. I was in this panic state, and I don't know what I was thinking. Mr. Menendez, Your Honor, I have 2 photographs. They've not been previously marked. I've shown them to counsel. I'd like to mark them as 382. The court says we're at 383. Mr. Khan says 383 and 384. Showing you 383, the photograph on the left, and 384, the photograph on the right. What do those photographs depict, Mr. Menendez? Well, one photograph is taken from the outside of my driveway. The other one is taken from the inside of the driveway. Both of them showing the open gate. I believe it's my father's Mercedes. I'm not sure. And yeah, it is. And my brother's Alfa Romero. And it also shows the gate, doesn't it? Don't they? Yeah, that's what I just said. And that's the gate that takes you to the street. Is that correct? Yes. Now, was that gate open or closed at the time when you decided to go inside the house and shoot your parents? Objection. Assumes facts not in evidence and misstates his testimony. Rephrase the question, says the court. Mr. Khan says, was that gate open or closed at the time that you decided to go into your house? Objection with respect to decide. Overruled. The witness says, I don't know. Mr. Khan says, well, if you were inside that gate, how would you go about opening up the gate, Mr. Menendez? I think there's only one way to do it, and that's with a clicker. Actually, there's a button on the inside closet of the house. It doesn't show it in the entry, but it's a closet in the entryway. So you could do it with a remote, is that correct? Yes. And you had a remote in your car, is that correct? I believe so. And if you had gotten into your car and passed the remote, the gate would open if it wasn't already opened, is that correct? Yes. And going through that gate would have taken you to safety, is that correct, Mr. Menendez? Objection, it's argumentative. Overruled. Erik says, it's not how I viewed it. That that gate would have taken him to safety. That's like again with these like, well, why didn't you do this? What about that? What about this option? Well, it's like those options are all great, but I didn't think those options are all great, but I didn't think of them at the time. So that's great that you're again Monday morning quarterbacking me for a time when I was in a state of shock and panic. But cool. Let's keep going. All right. So sustain to the form of the question. Um, do you think? Oh wait, I didn't read that, did I? Do you think it's smarter to run towards danger, Mr. Menendez, or run away from danger? Mr. Levin says objection, argumentative, sustain to the form of the question. Mr. Khan says you sensed that there was danger inside the house. Is that correct, Mr. Menendez? Yes. And so, did you decide to go into the house or away from the house? I ran into the house. Why? I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking when I was scrambling for those shells and panicked. I knew that if I didn't get to that den, I was going to die if they had gotten out of the den before. I knew that I had to get out of that. I had to get to that den. That's all that I thought. And I wish I could sit back and tell you what I was thinking at that time and why I didn't run, but it just never crossed my mind. As he's explained 1,000 times in Cross already, he didn't think it was a possibility. So why would it come to mind? Did you go inside that house because you wanted to kill your parents, Mr. Menendez? It's simple for me to say that now, but that's not what was in my mind. Did you go outside that house because you had planned to kill your parents, Mr. Menendez? Go inside that house because you planned to kill your parents, Mr. Menendez? I don't know what you mean by that. There's nothing stopping you from leaving, was there? Only my actions. You decided to go inside the house. Is that correct? It's what I did. I guess so. So you did make a decision to go inside the house, didn't you? I can't say yes. I can't say no. I know that's what I did. It would be easy for me to just say yes now. But when you're scrambling at this point and when your mind is thumping and when you're panicked, you just don't think those things. When you went inside that house, no one was pointing a gun at you, was there? When I ran into the house? Yes. No. No one was threatening, was there? His language is bad there. I thought my parents were going to kill me at the time. I'm not asking you what your thought. I'm saying, was anything threatening you at that time? Verbally? Yes. No. And you could not see anyone threatening you, did you? No. And you didn't want to leave because you feel that if you left, it would just be a matter of time before your father found you. Isn't that correct? At this time, my heart is pumping such an I don't even think these things. You just act. I mean, earlier that day, I believed running away was just throwing your life away. Yes. But now you are in a different situation. Is that correct? Yes. Because earlier that day, you didn't know for sure that your father was going to kill you. Is that correct? It was a different situation. And when you didn't know for sure, you decided to wait in the house and see what happened. Is that correct? I didn't run away. But now you believed it was a different situation. Is that correct? It was a different situation. Did you decide at that time that it was time to talk to your brother and reevaluate whether it might be better to move away after all? Talk to my brother when I came out at the car? Talk to your brother while you're out there in the driveway and nobody is pointing a gun at you. No. I said only one thing to my brother, and that was hurry. That just shows you they were in a panicked state. And you decided not to talk to your brother about the possibility of running away. Is that correct? Decisions like that didn't even enter my mind. I just felt my life was slipping away and I just wanted to go faster than I was going. It didn't even cross my mind. Well, while you were standing out there in the driveway, there was no immediate danger, was there? I felt more than immediate danger. I felt like I was dying. Where was the immediate danger, Mr. Menendez? Wherever my parents were. That is the true answer of someone who psychologically abused by two people and he's afraid of them. That is definitely my take on that. If you were faking it, you wouldn't come up with that answer. Inside the house, is that correct? Yes. And you were outside the house, is that correct? Right. And until your father or someone came out of that house and pointed a gun at you, there was no immediate danger. Isn't that true? Objection, argumentative, overruled. The witness says, you're asking, there was no immediate danger until my dad exited that den? Mr. Khan says, that's correct. Isn't that true? I don't know. In looking back on it, no, I wouldn't say that was true. Why was that not true, Mr. Menendez? Because as soon as my mom and dad exited that den, I was dead. Life was over. Mr. Menendez, until someone pointed a gun at you, there was no reason for you to shoot anyone, was there? Objection, argumentative. Court says overruled. The witness says, you're right. Sitting in this chair, back and thinking about it, you're absolutely right. There are thoughts that I've thought every day in the last 6 years. At that time, it just wasn't in my mind. Mr. Khan says, at that point, what was in your mind was what was in your mind was to shoot and kill your parents. Is that correct? Not even that was in my mind. It sounds ridiculous but at the time it wasn't. I running in that room and getting there before they exited the den was the only thing that was in my mind. You knew as you were standing out there in the driveway that you were in a position to see your parents come out of the house. Is that correct? Objection, argumentative, overruled. Erik says that's true. It didn't occur to me. Mr. Khan says, did you say to your brother at that point in time, rather than kill our parents, let's wait and see if they come out of the house? No. But see, his argument is wait until they come out. Well, they're going to come out at some point in time, and that threat is still going to be there no matter what, if they go into the den or not. You know what I'm saying? So the brothers see the parents as the threat. So no matter what point in time the parents come out, that threat is going to be there. They're going to be fearful. So this is a pointless argument to me. Did you say to your brother at any point, rather than kill our parents, let's wait and see if they come out of the house? No. Did you tell your brother at that point in time, rather than kill our parents, let's just drive away? No. You knew as you went back inside that house that you were going to shoot and kill your parents. Is that correct? No. What did you plan to do with this loaded weapon as you walked back through the doors leading into the study? Objection. Assumes he had a plan. Overruled, says the court. Erik says, I remember rushing into the house. I didn't know what I was going to do when I entered that study. I remember thinking my dad's going to grab this gun. This gun is just huge, and that's the specific flash that was in my mind, how big the gun was just before I entered the den. So he was afraid. His thoughts at that moment were afraid his dad was going to take away the one thing that he had for his safety. That's where his thoughts were. That goes to show the fear, the level of fear that he had at that moment in time, and that this was acting out of fear from all of the years of abuse. Mr. Khan says, it was your intention as you were going through the study doors to go into the den, is that correct? Yes. And you knew you had a gun that was loaded, is that correct? Yes. And your parents were in there, and you're telling us that you believe that you were in danger. They were a danger to you, is that correct? I didn't even I wasn't even sure. Sorry. I wasn't even sure they were inside the den. I just knew that they were somewhere in the back of the house. So he was afraid they might have even left the den. He didn't know for sure. And you didn't even know whether they had touched the weapon in the last year, did you? I believe that there were that there were guns in the room at that point. Why? Because I believe it with I just knew that they were coming to kill me. It wasn't even I didn't even second guess myself. Where was the evidence of that, Mr. Menendez, that they had guns in that room? In my mind. And you were going to kill your parents. You were going to shoot your parents based upon nothing more than the possibility that maybe they had guns in the room? Objection, argumentative, Your Honor. Sustained. Mr. Khan says, you felt that there was a possibility that they had guns in the room. No. You didn't see them with guns in the room, did you? I believed that they were there. What was the belief based upon? Knowing my father and my mother. Because your mother told you you couldn't go to the movies that night? No. Because your father told you to go up to your bedroom? It was all of these things together. And as you were going through the room, as you were going through the study, you knew that once you got into the den, you were going to start firing at your parents. Is that correct? It wasn't even in my mind. Well, then, what were you going to do as you were going through the study, Mr. Menendez? I just remember knowing that I had to get to that den before they got out. The fact that I was going to shoot or wasn't going to shoot them just wasn't in my mind. I look back on it now and I don't know what I was thinking. I was panicked and I knew I had to get to the den before they exited. If they exited the den, my life was over, and I felt my life slipping away. I can't describe the adrenaline or the feelings in my mind when you're that panicked. I just can't do it. So far, he's been completely consistent in repeating this over and over, and that he just felt that as soon as those doors opened and the parents came out, his life was over. He's said that multiple times now. So he really did believe that, I think. Not that I believe, whether it's true or not, if he believed that, that is enough motive, I believe, for self defense and should have been self defense to come in, which never does. They're not allowed to bring or to argue self defense. You wanted to get into the den to do something to them before they did it to you. Is that correct? I wanted to stop them from killing me. That's exactly what was in my mind. And you went out that day and you purchased the kind of ammunition that would do more than just stop them, but would kill them. Is that correct? I did that the day before. And you wanted to be able to not only stop them, but to kill them. Is that correct? No. You didn't want to kill them? No, I didn't. So did you say to your brother at that point, let's drive away? No. Did you say to your brother at that point, let's wait and see if they come out and let's not kill our parents unless we're put into a situation where we really have to? No, I didn't. You decided instead to attack your parents. Is that correct? Objection, argumentative. Overruled, says the court. No, I didn't think that, says Erik. But I definitely ran through those doors first. This was an attack upon your parents, wasn't it, Mr. Menendez? I guess so, it was. And you knew at that time that it was an attack on your parents, didn't you? No. And you knew as you were going through the study that there was no immediate danger because nobody was pointing a gun at you, didn't you, Mr. Menendez? Objection, argumentative. Rephrase the question, says the court. Just because someone's not pointing a gun at you doesn't mean that you're not in danger. So he keeps tying those two together, because you didn't have that immediate threat right in front of your face that you're not in danger. They still felt that they were in danger, which is the whole point that he's talking about, that any point his parents could come out of that room and he's still in danger. So whether or not it was right in front of his face doesn't matter. He felt that it was going to be imminent no matter what. Mr. Khan says, as you were going through the study, Mr. Menendez, was there an immediate danger? I didn't need a gun to be pointed at me to know that the danger was not only immediate, it was now. So that just exactly what I just said. That's proving what I just said. Did the danger was in the future when they came out of the room? Isn't the danger was in the future when they came out of the room? Isn't that correct, Mr. Menendez? Objection, argumentative, overruled. Yes, says the witness. Mr. Khan says, and you knew they couldn't shoot through the walls, didn't you, Mr. Menendez? Objection, argumentative, overruled. The witness says, I guess so. And you knew that there was no danger to you until they came out of that room and pointed their gun at you. Isn't that correct? Objection, argumentative, overruled. Ask it again, please, says the witness. You knew that there was no danger to you until they came out of that room and pointed a gun at you. Is that correct? That's not what I was thinking. How would they hurt you, Mr. Menendez, if they were still inside the den? You're right. They would not kill me until they exited the den. If they even did it, they could have hired people. They could have been plotting in there some kind of kidnapping attempt to make it look like a kidnapping for ransom or something. And they never see the brothers again. Easy peasy, they could make it look like a kidnapping for ransom. Jose's got money. Easily. It didn't have to be by their hands. The fact that Jose and Kitty were still alive and breathing and in that house and the tension hadn't been cut and it hadn't been, the parents hadn't been like, oh, okay, guys, let's sit down and talk as a family and let's figure this out. No, it wasn't that. It was everybody was ignoring each other. The tensions were extremely high in that house. And we don't know. The fact is, we do not know what Jose and Kitty were talking about or plotting or planning or, planning to do to mitigate the situation. We don't know what they were thinking. So, whether or not they exited the den, they could have been in the den planning a kidnapping for ransom. And if there was a phone in the den, he could have been doing it from there. You know what I'm saying? So, very easily. So I think these points, while might be easily fool a jury, I'm not fooled by these questions because I don't think that I understand the nuances of abuse and how abuse can affect you psychologically and how you can react in moments of trauma. And you don't understand yourself in those moments of trauma. You don't know what you're doing. I understand that from personal experience and from watching the first trial. We understand that from watching the first trial. But a jury might not understand that, and they might be easily swayed by this line of questioning. And so at that point, when you came out of the den, then perhaps they might be a danger to you. Is that correct? I believed that they would be. And that point was still in the future, isn't that correct? Yes. And until they came out of that room, the danger to you was a future danger. Is that correct? Objection. It's argumentative, says Mr. Levin. The court says overruled. The witness says, it's not how I saw it at the time. Exactly, because he saw it as a constant threat until something was done about it, either by him or by the parents doing something, either doing something bad to the brothers or, saying, "Hey, let's talk about this," but that wasn't happening over that week. So they knew that that wasn't an option anymore. Mr. Khan says, "You didn't see the danger as being in the future?" I saw the danger as immediate. Rushing into the room was thrusting myself into danger, yes, but it was the only way I saw to live. And you knew that they couldn't shoot you through the walls, is that correct? Objection asked and answered, Mr. Levin shouts, probably. I would. And the court says sustained. Mr. Khan says, how could they hurt you, Mr. Menendez, if they were inside the den? I thought they were exiting. I'm sorry. I believed that they were going to exit any second. And when they exited, then perhaps they might be a danger. Is that correct? No, not perhaps. At that point, it was over. You didn't know that because you didn't know that because you didn't see the guns in their hands, did you? I didn't have to see guns to know that. Until they exited that room, they would not be able to harm you. Is that correct? Mr. Levin says, objection, argumentative, and also overruled. Overruled, says the court. The witness says, I realize that. Mr. Khan says, and even though they would not be able to hurt you, given their present location, you decided that you were going to go into that room and shoot them with your guns. Isn't that correct? No, that's not how I thought. That's not how I was thinking. Are you saying you just went into the room and the gun went off accidentally? No, I pulled the trigger. And you went into the room to pull the trigger, is that correct? I I know that's what I did, and it'd be easy for me to say that that's what was going through my head, but it just wasn't. That was not what was in my mind. I'm asking you what was in your mind at that time. Did you know that you were going to go? Let me complete the question. Did you know that you were going to go into that room and pull the trigger? No. So you're telling us that as you ran through that entryway, as you ran through the foyer, there was no intention in your mind to pull the trigger after you got through the den doors. Is that correct? No. Objection, argumentative as phrased. The court says overruled. What I'm saying is, had I stopped and thought and analyzed and processed the situation, then clearly if I had entered the den, I would have. I would have been thinking that. But as you're rushing into the den and as I was rushing in, the only thought that was in my mind, the only thing I could see was how big the gun was. It didn't come into my mind that I was going to pull the trigger. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just believed that if I didn't get to those doors before they exited, I was going to die. Mr. Menendez, when you went upstairs to the room to get the gun, you had a specific purpose in mind, didn't you? To load it. To get the gun. Is that correct? Yes. And when you came down the stairs and went out the door, you had a specific purpose in your mind. Is that correct? Yes. And and that was to load up your gun. Is that correct? I think so. And Mr. Menendez, isn't it true that you just don't want to admit to this jury that when you went into the house, you had the specific purpose in mind of shooting your parents? Objection, argumentative. No, says the witness. Overruled. The answer will stand. So are you saying that once your gun was loaded up, then you lost your sense of purpose? Objection. It's argumentative. The witness says, no, Mr. Levin says, and it's vague. Yeah, it's confusing. The court says, sustained. Mr. Khan says, are you saying that once your gun was loaded, you no longer had a purpose? No, that's not what I was saying. What then, when your gun was loaded and you were going through the study doors, what was your purpose? My purpose was the same as it was when I sprinted away from my brother and I thought that we were going to die. Is that if I didn't get to those den doors before they came through them, my life would be over. When I'm at the car and I'm loading and I'm loading and I'm wondering, where's Lyle? Why isn't he here? Am I going to have to go into this house alone? And I'm telling him to hurry when he's at my side and we're going in to go into the den. Mr. Khan says, I'm going to object as non-responsive. Mr. Levin says he should be entitled to answer. The court says, let's hear the question again. The record was read as follows. Question, what then, when your gun was loaded and you were going through the study doors, what was your purpose? Mr. Levin says that's precisely what he's attempting to answer. The court says, okay, without counsel's comments, had you completed your answer? No, says the witness. The court says, go ahead. The witness says the purpose was the same as it had been throughout those seconds. If I didn't get to that, all I saw in my mind was those doors. Beyond them, if they exited, was death. Those doors was a threshold. I didn't even think what I was going to do. I just I just didn't. I just thought that we were going to die if we didn't get through the doors. Mr. Khan says, Mr. Menendez, you said that your purpose was the same. Your previous purpose was just to get your gun and load it. Isn't that what you told us your purpose was as you went up to your room and came down and was going to through those study doors? Objection, it's argumentative and also vague. It's also a compound question, says the court. Mr. Khan says, wasn't it your purpose up until that time that you went out the study that they wasn't it your purpose up until that time that you went out to the study doors into the driveway just to get the ammunition and load your gun? That's what I wanted to do, but what I wanted to do in the overall sense, as soon as I sprinted away from my brother, was to get to those doors before my parents exited. So you just wanted to get to the doors and look at the doors? No, sir. What did you want to do in reference to the doors? Get through them. And once you got through those doors, what were you going to do? In any way possible, stop my parents from killing us. You were going to shoot them? I guess. Okay, but that just wasn't in mind. So you're telling us that you didn't think about shooting your parents as you're running around getting your gun and getting your ammunition? That's exactly what I'm trying to say. I just was so rushed and so panicked that I didn't think about it. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. And did you think that perhaps once you got your gun and once you got those into those doors, that you might change your mind and not decide to shoot? I hadn't decided to do anything. No. Well, did you think that you might just go into the doors and then just decide to stand there and not use the weapon whatsoever? Never thought about it. So you went into those doors, and what did you do when you got into those doors, Mr. Menendez? I remember bursting through them. I remember seeing my dad. I remember firing. So did that come as a complete surprise to you, Mr. Menendez, when you finally got through the doors, what you did, that when you finally got through the doors, what you did was you shot your parents? Well, he's wording his questions is really throwing me off. Nothing came as a surprise to me because that's what you set out to do, get the ammunition and shoot your parents. Isn't that correct? Objection, argumentative, overruled. The witness answers no. Mr. Khan says, so you were surprised by the fact that you shot your parents. Is that correct? To be surprised, I assume you have to be aware of everything that's going on. I had one goal in mind. To shoot your parents? No. So how many times did you shoot your parents, Mr. Menendez? I loaded 5. I shot 5. As quickly as you possibly could? Yes. And you never fired a shotgun before? Never. And you were able to hit them very accurately, weren't you? Objection. It's argumentative. Overruled. And what is accurately? He just went into there not aiming and just shooting. And a shotgun has a very large range of, you know, damage. So you don't really need to be accurate. You just need to get them, right? You just need to hit them. The witness says, I don't know what you mean by that. Mr. Khan says, well, you saw the photos of your dead parents, haven't you, Mr. Menendez? Yes. And there weren't too many rounds wasted in that room, was there, Mr. Menendez? Objection, argumentative, sustained as to the form of the question. Mr. Menendez, did you miss when you were shooting at your parents? I have no idea. I'm sorry? I have no idea. Are you telling us that it was dark when you went into that room? The lights were out. The lights to the foyer were on, is that correct? Yes. And those doors, when you open those doors to the den, those doors don't shut back beyond you or behind you. Did they? I don't think so. So once you open the doors to the den, unless you close them again, they stay open, don't they? Right. When you and your brother burst into the room, you didn't close the doors behind you, did you? No. And the light from the foyer flooded the room, didn't it? All I remember seeing is the darkness and the red of my fire. Are you saying that the lights from the foyer didn't flood that room? This happened so quickly, I have no idea. It must have flooded the room. If the doors were open, I just remember seeing this red blank in front of me. And that light could only go so far. Like, it's not going to light up the whole room. Mr. Menendez, you never turned off. You never turned the foyer lights off or off up until prior to the time that the police arrived, did you? No. And to your knowledge, your brother didn't do so either, did he? To my knowledge. And you saw photographs of the house lit up at the time that the police arrived, is that correct? My memory is it was. I don't remember it from the photographs. My memory of that night is that the foyer lights were on. In fact, isn't it true, Mr. Menendez, that your parents watch television with the lights on? Normally, they watch television with the lights on. And in fact, didn't your parents tell you that you should not watch television with the lights out because it was bad for your eyes? I remember as a little child them telling me that. And are you saying that this night they broke their own rules and watched television with the lights off? Objection assumes facts, not in evidence. Yeah, you're assuming that they were just sitting in there watching television and nothing else. But they were actually standing, according to Erik and Lyle's testimony, but the state wants to make you think they were sitting. So they were actually standing and not even facing the TV. They had to turn and, they both turned and looked. They were facing each other talking, and then they turned and looked at the doors when the brothers opened the doors. And that was sustained by the court. Mr. Khan says, isn't it true, Mr. Menendez, that when you went into that room, the lights were on? The lights were off, says Erik. And at the very least, the lights from the foyer flooded that room, is that correct? Asked and answered, says Mr. Levin. The court says, overruled. God damn, this judge sucks. It was clearly asked and answered. The witness says, the lights from the foyer must have flooded the room. I never thought about it. Mr. Khan says, and you were able to see your parents as you got into that room, isn't that correct? I remember seeing them before they started firing. He means we. And your parents were sitting down, weren't they? No, they definitely weren't sitting down. Where was your father? My father was in front of the coffee table. I'm sorry, the couch, a little bit to the left of the coffee table. And was the coffee table in the same place it was in the photograph when that they've been looking at your dead parents near the sofa? What? That we've been looking at. Was that coffee table in the same place in the photograph that we've been looking at your dead parents near the sofa? Why does he phrase things so freaking strangely? It's throwing me off because normal language doesn't flow like that. Sorry, Mr. Levin says objection. It's vague with respect to the photograph counsel's referring to. Sustained. Mr. Khan says previously you've been shown a photograph by defense counsel and he asked you if the coffee table was in the same position it was in the photograph. Is that correct? Objection, Your Honor. It's vague. I showed him lots of pictures. Rephrase the question. Do you recall seeing photographs of the table? Objection. It's irrelevant. Overruled. Mr. Khan, or I'm sorry, the witness says yes. Mr. Khan says, did you see photographs of the coffee table in different positions or in the same position? I don't remember. My memory was that the coffee table was further angled than it was that night when I went back into the room when we got back when we got back home after just before the 911 call. Are you saying that when you burst into the room, the coffee table was not in the same position it is in some of these photographs? I have no idea what position it was in when I burst into the room. I just know what position it was when we got back to the house later that night. Was it your testimony that you're telling us that your parents were not watching television? I didn't believe they were. I don't believe they were to this day. You don't know what your parents were doing in there, do you? Today I don't. I know that they were standing when I entered the room. I specifically remember my father. You can't say that your parents were watching television, can you? Right. I meant sitting down on the couch watching television. You previously testified that your parents were not watching television, is that correct? That's what I thought. And when you went into that room, your father said no, is that correct? He didn't say it like that, but that's what he said. And you continued to shoot anyway, is that correct? I don't. Objection, Your Honor, assumes facts, not in evidence. I don't believe the court says overruled. The witness continues his answer. I don't. I think I had already started firing when he said it. Mr. Khan says, now, Mr. Menendez, did you just shoot one time and then give your parents a chance to see if they were armed or not? No. Once I pulled that trigger, it was over in seconds. I just shot everything that I had and more. And then what happened after you shot your parents? I remember I remember the red blank disappearing. I remember the shots being over. I remember hearing some firing. I remember a sound from, I don't know, is my mom? What I know now is my mom. I remember freaking out. I remember feeling defenseless, and I remember just running from the room. Your mother was moaning, is that correct? Yes. Your mother was moaning because she was dying, is that correct? Objection calls for speculation. Sustained. Did you previously testify that you heard your mother moaning and you knew that she was dying? In in all of my memories after that night, I remember the sound of pain most specifically. Did you know that your mother was dying by that time that you finished shooting? No. After you finished firing all of your shots, did you leave the room? Yes. Why? I just heard the fire. I heard her noise. I just freaked out. I don't know why. You went outside and you went to your car, is that correct? I ran out through the foyer, through the front door to my car. And you had another purpose is that at that time, is that correct? Objection with respect to another purpose. Overruled. The witness says, I don't know what purpose I had in my mind. Mr. Khan says, what was the purpose to run out to the car at that time? I ran out of the room and I just kept running. I wasn't making assessments. I wasn't making assessments of what was happening. Why did you run out of the room? Because of the fire, because of the noise. It just freaked me out. I felt you just didn't feel like hanging around in the room anymore? No, it scared the hell out of me. You were frightened of the fact that you were killing your parents. I was frightened of the noise. I was frightened of the fire of the gun. Are you trying to portray yourself as the victim of this shooting, Mr. Menendez? Objection, argumentative. That's just such a weak question. Sustained. You were the one doing the shooting. Is that correct, Mr. Menendez? Objection, it's argumentative. Overruled, says the court. Erik says yes. Mr. Khan says, were your parents shooting at you, or were you shooting at your parents? I thought they were shooting. Oh, you thought your parents were shooting at you? I heard, all I remember in the room is fire echoing off the walls, fire everywhere, the booming, the crashing, and the noise that was mind-boggling. And when my gun was over, I remember more fire. So he's still hearing Lyle's guns going off. I know now it was from Lyle's gun. It just freaked me out and scared me. I ran out of the room. Okay. So you went out, and when you went out, tell us where you went. I went to the foyer. I ran out the door and I ran to my car. And tell us what you did there. I believe my brother was by my side. I was scrambling for shells. Did your brother get there before you did? No. You got there first? I got there first. Why did you go there? I don't know why. You just went there? Oh, he must have laughed. You just went there? Huh. You laugh and you think it's funny. It just wasn't in my mind. It's not what I was thinking. I ran out. I was freaked out and I did it. I don't know why. I wasn't thinking why. I wasn't thinking of the at the time. This was hyper. I cannot describe the panic. It's impossible to describe. What was that? Hyper what? I don't know. Did you learn a new word from Mr. Wilson? Objection, Your Honor. Rephrase the question. Tell us what you did when you got to the car. I was scrambling for shells, just reaching for them. He might have been saying hypervigilant, um, like he was going to start to say hypervigilant, which is a word that you learn when you learn about your own conditions when you become, traumatized by abuse. So he's trying to be like, oh, did you learn a new word from Dr. Wilson about the hypervigilance? But the court tells him to rephrase it, and he does. But he asks a completely different question. He says, tell us what you did when you got to the car. I was scrambling for the shells, just reaching for them. Why did you want shells? I don't remember making the assessment. I know that I gave it to Lyle. I wanted to give them to Lyle, I guess. You guessed you wanted to give shells to Lyle? I didn't have time to think about it. You just can't stop yourself when you're in this state. And I just. So you weren't thinking about anything that evening, is that correct? That's not what I'm saying. Objection, it's argumentative. Sustained, the answer stricken. Stricken. Are you trying to avoid responsibility for your actions, Mr. Menendez? I'm not trying to avoid responsibility. So then why did you give the shells to your brother? I don't know why. I remember a feeling of panic. I remember a feeling of defenselessness. I gave him the shell. I don't know why. He probably couldn't go back in there and do that to take his mom's life, take the final shot for his mom because he loved his mother deeply and cared about her up until that moment that what was it, Thursday night or Saturday night when he finds out that she knew the whole time. Then his whole perspective on mom changes. But before that, mom was not necessarily his protector, but he saw mom as the better parent, obviously. So that was where his love and connection came from, even if it was her really messed up way of showing her love to her sons. All right. So then why did you give the shells to your brother? I don't know why. I remember feeling panicked. I remember a feeling of defenselessness. I gave him the shell. I don't know why. And you knew that he was going to finish off your dying mother, is that correct? I didn't know my mother was dying at the time. I remember a feeling of not being able to stop myself. I know that Lyle ran in the room and he shot her when she wasn't moving. I know all of these things now. At the time, I didn't know. Excellent points. So you instinctively knew that your brother would return to finish killing your mother, is that correct? It was the only word I could describe in describing it. It wasn't a knowledge, it was just a reaction, an instinct, whatever I said there. You knew that your father was dead, is that correct? I didn't know that. Did you load your gun at the time? No, I did not. Did you go back into the house? I ran back into the foyer. I didn't run into the den. You ran into the foyer? Yes. Why did you run? I don't know. I don't know why I ran in. I don't know why I couldn't stop myself. I don't know why Lyle couldn't stop himself. I don't know why. There was no reason to turn back into the den. I don't know why I did it. I know Lyle had shells in his pocket. He didn't even need to reload or and get out of his car. It just is what happened. Mr. Menendez, do you say I don't know why every time you don't have a good answer to the question? Objection, argumentative, sustained. You went back into the house with an unloaded gun, is that correct? Yes. Why? I don't know. Because there was no danger from your father at that point because he was dead, is that correct? I don't know if I knew that. I know now what that I saw him on the couch and he wasn't moving. I wasn't making these assessments at the time. Do you feel that you were in danger from your father as you were going back into your home with an unloaded gun? Yes. Then why didn't you load it before going back into your house? Because I had given Lyle the shells. He was running back into that room. I don't know why we ran back into the room. There was no need to. We just couldn't stop ourselves. I don't know why it happened. You gave your brother one shell, is that correct? I would have given him 10 if he stayed. He just took off. You only gave him one, is that correct? I believe so. And after you gave him just one shell, you decided to go back into the house with an unloaded weapon, is that correct? After I gave him the shell, he started running and I ran to him. You ran back into the house with an unloaded weapon, is that correct? Yes, sir. And where did you go at that time? I stopped in the foyer. And you didn't turn around and go out of the car and reload your gun, did you? No. Because you realized there was no danger from your father, is that correct? How can you possibly make these assessments? How could you possibly? Because you killed your father. Mr. Levin says, "Objection, Your Honor. He's entitled to answer the question." The court says, "Well, it's not responsive. Your next question, please." Mr. Khan says, "Isn't it true, Mr. Menendez, that you knew that your father was dead at that point?" No. "Isn't it true that the only reason why you went into the house with an unloaded gun is because you knew that your father was no longer a threat?" No. "Isn't it true that you knew that your mother was dying and one shell would be more than enough to finish her off? Is that correct?" Sir, if I knew these things, I'd tell you. I don't have to admit to reloading this gun. I don't have to tell you the things I am. I'm telling you because that's what happened. You wouldn't know. You weren't there. I was there. I saw what happened. I'm telling you what happened. So he's getting agitated by this line of questioning because he's constantly being basically, told he's a liar by this prosecutor over and over again. And you should be trusted. Is that correct, Mr. Menendez? Objection argumentative, says Mr. Levin. No. What I'm saying is that I'm just trying to tell you exactly how I felt and what I knew. You previously used the words you instinctively knew that your brother would return to finish killing your mother. Is that correct? I don't know. I remember using the word instinct. Did you? I realized that that's what he did. It's just what I put together. I don't know. You knew that he was going to finish killing your mother. Is that correct? No, I did not know that. Didn't you previously testify that you instinctively knew that your brother would return to finish killing your mother? I think those were the words I used. Yes. Okay, and you used those words, Mr. Menendez. Finish killing your mother because you knew that your mother was already dying. Is that correct? I know that my mother was no longer moving when my brother entered the room, that there was no reason to, and I use those words because looking back, it was the only words I could find to describe it. It's so simple to say that I knew that that's what he was going to do, but that's not what I was thinking. What do you mean you knew your mother was no longer moving? How did you know that? I knew that because that's what my brother told me when he exited the room afterwards. You're talking about sometime later, is that correct? Yes. I'm not talking about later, I'm talking about at that time. You knew that your brother was going to finish killing your mother, is that correct? Objection, argumentative, says Mr. Levin. The court says, "What time are you referring to?" And the witness says, "No." Mr. Khan says, "I'm referring to the time when you were outside at the car and you were giving your brother one additional shotgun shell." I didn't intend to give him one shot. He just left after that. You were going to give him more than one? I would have given him all that I could find so that you could keep shooting your parents. I don't know. These weren't actions. I would have given him anything. I just couldn't stop myself from moving. He had shells in his pocket. I just wasn't aware of all these things. Why did you use the words finish killing your mother? Because I know that that's what he did. And in retrospect, he knows what Lyle did. It's because I know that that's what he did. You're talking about now you know that that's what he did. Is that correct? I knew it. Yes. I'm talking about at the time of the incident. Didn't you previously testify that you instinctively knew at that time that your brother would return to finish killing your mother? I think I remember using the words instinct. I didn't remember saying the rest, but I trust that that's what I said. Mr. Menendez, I'm asking you if these are your words. Did you previously testify that you instinctively knew that your brother would return to finish killing your mother? Yes. And why did you testify to the fact that you knew he was going to finish killing your mother? I was trying to convey that it was just these were instincts. In other words, that they were things that I couldn't control. I just did. And that's what I was trying to. Your instinct at that point in time was that your mother was dying. Is that correct? I don't I don't believe that I even knew that. I didn't When I ran out of the room, I couldn't see my mother. She was behind the coffee table. Then why did you previously testify that you instinctively knew that your brother would return to finish killing your mother? Objection, asked and answered, overruled. The witness says, "I put the two together. What I was trying to convey was that it was an instinct, that it was not something that I thought about. It was something that I did and couldn't stop myself from doing." Whoops, sorry. I couldn't stop myself from doing. I know that that's what he did, and I just put the two together. So he made an inference by, context. Mr. Khan says, "But you did know that your brother was going to finish killing your mother, is that correct?" No, I did not know that. Why did you previously testify that way? I don't know, sir. It was the same type of exchange that we're having now. What type of exchange? Objection. It's argumentative. Overruled, says the court. Just answering questions and answering them. And I don't know why I put the two together, but that's not what I was trying to convey. Mr. Menendez, are you saying that you didn't mean this when you testified this in your first trial? I meant everything that I testified to. And one of the things that you meant to testify to and did testify to was that when you handed that shell to your brother, you instinctively knew that your brother would return to finish killing your mother. Is that correct? Yes. All right, let's take our recess. We'll be in recess until 1996. Okay, we'll be in recess until 1996. This is, as I said earlier, this is December 1st. We are moving into January. So this is the last of December's episode. So the next episode we will begin January, whatever it'll be. He continues saying, it's important that you do not discuss the matter with anyone during the break, that you not form any final opinions about the case, and that you not permit yourself to be exposed to anything about the case, whether it's conversation of others, news coverage, or in any form of mention of this case, because as we've discussed many times, you must take your decision based only on the evidence presented to you here in the courtroom, and it's very important that you not be exposed to anything outside the courtroom. Unfortunately, some of you may have been exposed to a bug outside of the courtroom, and we have had a lot of people sick during the course of the trial, and I appreciate the effort that you've made to be here, even though you've been under the weather. I want to wish you all a happy holiday season and a happy new year, and a healthy new year. Hopefully, everybody's healthy next year. We'll see you back here on January the 3rd at 8:30 in the morning. Okay? See you back here January 3rd. The jury exits the courtroom. We're going to have a little discussion here with the attorneys. The court says, while we're waiting for the jury to leave, the people were to file a response to the defense motion regarding former testimony. Mr. Khan says, yes. Did you? The court says you were to file a response to the defense motion regarding former testimony. Mr. Khan says, I don't think it's been completed yet. The court says, when will it be completed? We could file it by tomorrow. What time tomorrow? 4:30. Ms. Abramson says, we'll argue it, Your Honor, at 4:35. The court says, all right, well, let's see if we can get it to court by noon tomorrow. Ms. Abramson says, should we schedule a hearing on it, Your Honor, for January 3rd? The court says, well, we'll schedule a hearing at some point. Anything else here that counsel wish to discuss before we take our recess? Mr. Khan says, we were also going to ask that the court order the defendant to submit to the mental examination. Ms. Abramson says, we object, Your Honor. We think it's not timely. The defendant is still on the witness stand. He's still subject to cross-examination, and he's still subject to redirect. And more importantly, we have not tendered mental state in a way that would allow the people to have a psychiatric examination until our expert testifies, and that is 3 weeks away at this point. The court says, well, I definitely think, now the jury enters the courtroom. Court continues, I definitely think that mental state has been tendered based upon the testimony of the defendant plus the opening statements of counsel, an indication of what it is that you intend to prove. Ms. Abramson says the only mental state that's been tendered by the testimony of the defendant is fear, and a defendant testifying to fear does not entitle the prosecution to an examination by a psychiatric expert. Moreover, the people are not entitled to the discovery that they would get by contact between their expert and our client, while our client is still subject to cross-examination. The court says that's a separate issue. Ms. Abramson says both of these. The court says you're combining two different things here. Ms. Abramson says the only mental state. Court says, as far as the mental state is concerned, I am prepared now to rule that you have tendered the mental state. Ms. Abramson says, we disagree, Your Honor. The court says you can disagree, but that's my feeling that you have tendered a mental state. The issue is the timing of the examination. I'll say this. that as far as the conditions of the examination, the defense request to be present for that will be not granted. What? The, the defense request to be present will not be granted. They can't even be there. It's just a question of when the examination would take place. When I brought up the subject last week, who's talking here? I lost. Yeah, it is the court. Okay, so when I brought up the subject last week, I had hoped and expected that we would have gotten to the stage of having completed the examination of the defendant. We have yet to do that, and my feeling is that I am reluctant to have the examination take place until his testimony has been completed, but I'm not going to wait for experts for the defense to testify before the examination is conducted. I don't think it's fair to the prosecution to put them in a position of having their defense experts testify without an opportunity for their expert to examine the defendant as well. I think that would limit their capacity to effectively cross examine and limit their ability to rebut the evidence offered by the defense. So it's just a question of timing here as to when it's to be done. But it will be ordered, and it will be ordered as soon as the defendant's completed his testimony. And if the we'll just schedule it some time that won't interfere with the trial in progress for that to be accomplished. Any other matters at this point? Mr. Gessler says no, Your Honor. Mr. Levin says, is that a ruling with respect to defense counsel and the defense experts as well? The court says, what do you mean? Mr. Levin says that we feel that one, we are entitled to be present to have some degree of control with respect to the prosecution expert. There are some areas in which the defense expert or prosecution expert cannot inquire of our client, and we feel that we have a right to be there to give him that legal advice. And also, we feel that we have a right to have our expert present while their experts conduct it. There's issue of credibility. There's issue of voice inflection, of facial expressions, things that the prosecution expert could testify to that there will be no witness present other than the defendant and the expert, and that's not fair. The court says, well, the proposal was to videotape this examination. That would preserve those things. Ms. Abramson says, not, it doesn't preserve uh, lines of questioning that they can't get into. Ms. Abramson says, can't videotape the expert's face, Your Honor. The court says, well, I am not going to permit counsel to be present. I'm not going to permit the defense experts to be present. Why? What does it hurt to have them present? This is so freaking one-sided. Why? That is not a fair and balanced decision. And he's not even giving reason to. He's just saying they're not going to be present. Mr. Levin says, would the court allow a special master to be present? No, no. This is not something where the defense would have an opportunity to interfere with the examination. This is the purpose of allowing the prosecution expert to do an examination. To have these obstacles in the way of the examination would defeat the whole purpose of the examination. Mr. Levin says, I think there's a distinction between an examination and a proper examination. I can envision all sorts of things. Sorry, the dog just keeps moving. I'm trying to not have him hit the mic, and it's frustrating. Sorry. Let me read that again. Mr. Levin says, I think there's a distinction between an examination and a proper examination. I can envision all sorts of things that the prosecution expert would do that are improper, areas that he would be going into or questioning our client about that he's not entitled to question him about. For whatever reasons, nefarious purpose he wishes and will have no control. The court says there will be limitations on the use of any information gathered by the expert consistent with the case law, so it can't be used by the people improperly. But other than that, I don't see that would be proper for the court to permit the presence of others. Mr. Levin says, concerning the videographer, does the court have any suggestions with respect how that should be videotaped? Court says, someone here mentioned that the sheriff has the capacity to do that the last time we discussed it. I understood that that was the situation, that there was somebody from the sheriff's department who was able to do this. Mr. Levin says, I'm not under that understanding, but we would ask to be able, if such an examination is going to take place with video, we ask to be given the opportunity to video it with our resources. Ooh. The court says, well, again, that was a good counter. See, I couldn't think that quickly on my feet. That's so smart. The court says, well, again, the purpose is to conduct an examination without obstruction or interference. How would their equipment interfere? Ms. Abramson says, we just want our own people to do the videotaping. That doesn't mean us. Mr. Levin says, I'll do the video. Ms. Abramson says, the court says the mechanics of it can't be worked out. The mechanics of it can be worked out. It's possible, perhaps, that both the prosecution and the defense can agree upon some agency or person to do it, so it doesn't need more than one videotape or one operator. That's something that you can certainly discuss. Anyway, those are my thoughts and my rulings on many of these issues that we're talking about. As far as timing, I feel that it is appropriate to wait until the defendant has completed his examination so that there can be no possibility that such an examination contributed in any way to the nature of the cross-examination of the defendant. But that's the purpose of it, is to assist the prosecution in cross-examining the defense expert. So they'll have to do that examination before the defense expert testifies. All right. Anything else at this point? Mr. Gessler says no, Your Honor. Mr. Levin says no, Your Honor. The court says, okay, we'll be in recess then until the 3rd of January at 8:30 in the morning. Ms. Abramson says, have a nice Christmas and Happy New Year, Your Honor. The court says, same to you. Everybody have a happy holiday. And that is how we end 1995. December 21st, 1995. We will continue our next episode, which, as you probably know by now, we are doing Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. So this is your Sunday episode, and Tuesday you will be getting part 58. I'm looking at a calendar, so I'm telling you the right days and times. It's helpful for me to have it up there. Anyways, so that is what I have planned for you guys. I will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys. That's the end of this Trial Transcripts Exposed. Thanks for following along with me. Like if you want more, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments below. See you next time.